Hello and good evening and welcome to InGear Motorsports round 3 and 4 of our mini GT4 championship. So we're at Brands Hatch GP today. I'm super excited. It's one of my favourite circuits. I spent a lot of time around here. So I'm Charlotte Burridge-Taylor, as you've probably heard me speak over the last couple of weeks, because it's become a bit of a thing now that I'm kind of officially, unofficially doing the commentary every week. So yeah, taking one for the team there. We're joined by a special guest commentator this week, and it's actually Neil Kidd, who, for you guys that have been following over the last few weeks and months, actually has been racing with the Sheba garage team, and Mackenzie is actually going to be racing this evening. So there's a little bit of swap of roles. So hi Neil, how are you doing over there?
I'm great. Thanks for the introduction. Yep, I've managed to get out of the cockpit this week and sitting in the commentator's box.
Yeah, the virtual commentator's box. Yeah. It's a fun place to be. Not quite as hot though in Scotland as what it is down here.
Yeah, but we aren't used to the heat, so you know you have to. It scales. It scales.
Yeah, anything above 10 degrees is practically boiling for you guys. Yeah, so it's going to be a really challenging evening for the guys actually today, because as much as we laugh and joke about the heat, obviously we're all facing like 34 degrees at the moment, so the guys are going to be getting seriously hot. You can speak firsthand about that, Neil, because again,
yeah.
Yeah.
So you're sitting in your VR, you're sitting with your triples, and you've got your PC on. It's sitting at 60 degrees. It's 34 degrees outside, and you're moving about for half an hour at shot trying to fight someone in the car in front of you. It's not fun. It's a bit sweaty.
You say it's not fun, but you come
It's
back
amazing.
every
It's
week
great.
and do
Yeah,
it.
keep doing it.
It's one of them, isn't it? It's one of them. Cool. So we'll run through what we're going to be doing this evening. The guys are out on qualifying already. There's been a lot of testing going on over the last week or so. Neil, I'm not sure if you've noticed that, but in the Discord, keep seeing everyone popping up. I'm like, they're kind of going for it. I think the realisation that this is a championship might have set in for them.
It's possible. We've also got a lot of Aston Martins competing tonight, and I know they've been sharing setups for those. Quite frankly, I'd like to see a bit of BOP on those Aston Martins. They're a little strong everywhere is the problem.
Yeah, I mean, we'll discuss that a little bit more in a bit, because it's actually something that I sort of dropped in the conversation. I think it was yesterday or something, that there is talks about what can we do now to spice this championship up a little bit more, because we have got a couple of drivers that are just dominant all the time, and we kind of don't want this, as good as it is for Mercedes fans, to kind of turn into what is going on in F1, albeit actually Sunday was a really good race, so we'll see. So we'll do, like I say, we're going to do a quick rundown of this evening in a minute. But all of the guys, I think the server's filling up quite nicely there. I don't know, Neil, if you can see from your end how many people that we've got this evening.
We've got 13 cars in so far. We've got another
Nice.
11 and a half minutes of qualifying. So with the quick join, I would expect a few more people to join in, but 13 car grid should be a good grid. Should be a good fight.
Yeah, no. Perfect. And I think as well, we always find this, that the second race in this evening always tends to be the slightly busier race as well.
Yeah.
For those of you that are watching though, like we say, welcome back. It's so nice. We're starting to build up quite a loyal following now, which is really, really good. We're streaming on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook. We're kind of all over the place. You see us going crazy on Instagram as well. So get involved with it. Comment to us on those. I've got my screen here, so I'm going to be I've got 4 screens going today. I feel like the setup's got a bit more professional than as the weeks are going on. More screens seem to be added out here in the office. But yeah, comment for us, get involved. I'll do my best to kind of manage them and talk about it. And what I do, and I'm going to keep plugging away over the course of the next couple of hours, we do give a championship point every week to whoever the driver of the day or driver of the evening is.
Murray, cough. Give it to him.
But yeah, I was going to say this is where it could get a bit tactical, because obviously you've really kindly kind of stepped out of one of the rounds, and we're going to add that into your dropped round side of things. So yeah, I guess technically we might have to look into the regulations of that, but I guess you could vote for someone in your team, because not only are we doing a driver championship over the next few weeks, we also are doing a team championship as well, because I think I guess it was the last few weeks of lockdown, Neil, wasn't it, where you guys started to kind of, you've always taken it really seriously, but that's where the kind of team side of things started to come into it a little bit more.
Yeah, so myself and Danny were the first ones to decide to have a team, and then everybody else copied us. But we had we have Shiba Garage in GT3 we run the Aston Martin GT3, and then GT4 we run the McLaren 750S, sorry, not 750, 570S GT4. So we've got teams wise, we've got Feller's Garage, we've got WRM, which is West Midlands Racing, we've got Vegas Sim Performance, we've got InGear Motorsport, and I think we have another one, but I can't remember the name.
I'm not going to say it because I don't know. Is Dan O'Brien, has he made it in? I'm not sure if he has yet. Dan's a super busy guy, but
he made it into one of the events last week. But I was
his name. Not going to do it because it's before the watershed. But so we'll kind of avoid that one. But yeah, so like you say, we've got Vegas in Performance. So we've got the Stallmans. So Don Stallman and Roland Stallman. Yeah, super strong team. They're putting in the time though, aren't they?
Yes.
I mean, Dom certainly is like literally all over it at the moment. I think I saw someone ask him how many hours he's actually spent on the game, and it was something like 300 and something hours.
So those guys are fully into the Motex, which, if you know anything about the Motex systems in real cars for sensitive, like racetrack telemetry data, that's implemented in the game, and you can pull it out and do everything you would in real life in the game car. So they've been doing that all week for this track.
It's crazy, isn't it? Quite interesting though, that last week was the first time that we actually saw a significant gap between the two. They usually are, let's be honest, they're usually always in the top three, minimum, usually the top two. But actually, Dom was as dominant as ever. Had to fight a little bit harder for it though, I would say. And the last couple of times he had, which is really good, you know, it makes the racing better. But Roland seemed to struggle quite a bit in the wet, because as we know, the second race last week was
torrential.
You needed a boat, literally, to get around. But it looked really fun. Did you enjoy it?
Oh, it was great. Really shook up the grid, and obviously a lot of drivers have different skills in different places. Myself and Steve's managed to get top 5 finishes with the rain coming in. One of the cars held us up a little bit, but I think we'd have been pretty close to the dawn if it wasn't for that.
Yeah, no, 100%. And it was something I actually jumped into your Discord chat in the end to kind of monitor that, because we'll explain it in a bit more detail what we do with the safety ratings. So just going to do a really quick run through then of what's actually happening this evening, and you'll see it pop up on your screen in a moment. Official practice started at 7 o'clock, but I think all the other practice has been happening for hours and hours beforehand. The guys have been flat out, like I say. We are running slightly behind schedule, so we just need to sort of give a couple of minutes either side for that. But we've got qualifying going on at the moment, and we've got about 6 minutes left of qualifying, so we'll jump straight to that in a minute. And then race one, we've got at 7:50 p.m, and then we'll give the guys a little bit of a break. The race is 30 minutes long, so we do a second official practice at 8:20, because the guys do like to do a bit of a setup change, which I'll quiz Neil on when we get time in a moment. Ready for the second qualifying, which is at 8:35, and then the second race, which is at 8:55, and that usually takes us around about to 9:30, 9:40. We're kind of lucky because we don't have to. Obviously, we've got timings and we stick to them, but we're not so rigid as a normal motorsport event where everything has to be run absolutely to the dot timing. So we do give a bit of flex time to get more people to jump into the server and bits like that. But like I say, don't forget to vote for your driver of the day, because they do get a championship point. So for you motorsport fans out there, or esport fans, you know that every point counts. So it could be what it comes down to at the end of the championship. So we've got Ben, who's our race director, but he's also absolutely flat out in the background, changing all the different camera angles and things like that. So he's just going to put us onto the main screen so we can see what's actually happening and what's going on out there. So you see straight away we're on to Mackenzie Taylor, so no pressure for him, because he's had track time, but I'd say, I don't know sort of if you agree with this or not, Neil, but limited track time over the last sort of few weeks, and certainly the last few days. Currently running in P2 there. Normal order has resumed though. We've got D Stallman that's running in P1 there, setting a good time of a 1:32. And Neil, it was something we was discussing before we actually come online and started streaming, that we was talking about what times do we think the guys are going to be aiming for today.
So weather's good, track's 35 degrees, 28 degrees ambient temperature, clear skies all day by the looks of things. So I'm thinking 1:32 is going to be a good lap. Stillman always pulls it out of the bag, so I wouldn't be surprised if he can pull 1:31.9 out of here. But the grid is looking fairly close in the top 4. Mm-hmm. And we have a little bit of a jump to Andy, another bit of a half a second there, and then it starts closing up again with all those guys. We get down to Keithy Heathy there is about a second over the top of them, and then again we've got a little bit of a jump to Murray and Stees, and then we've got a couple of they're called pubbers to us, but we've got Richard.
I've had to learn the lingo.
Pubbers is a term that you give to people that join the server that aren't necessarily on the Discord, so it's easier to identify them. It looks like the grid's filled out now. We're getting 18 cars in the grid, a good mix of manufacturers in here, but the Aston Martin is very dominant.
Yeah, it's super dominant. And for me, it's really weird to see Mackenzie actually in an Aston Martin, because obviously I was so used to always seeing him in a Mercedes, cut him in half, and he probably bleeds Mercedes and
So
AMG.
technically, if you cut that Aston Martin in half, it
I
also bleeds
know, yeah.
Mercedes. So I
So
think
he's
that's how you
kind of
get to with
still,
it.
yeah, he's still kind of on trend. But it's the same for you guys. You guys have actually, in the Shiba Garage team, have made a switch on cars. And in GT3, because obviously you guys were all playing GT3, but you're all really, really keen to get out in these GT4 cars. You've made
Yep.
the decision to jump ship and go over to McLaren. What was the mindset behind that?
I just found it to be a more fun car to drive, if that makes sense. The Aston Martin is
Yeah,
very
100%.
stable, very balanced. It's quite an easy car to get around the track, and it just was a bit boring for us. So we decided to switch to the McLaren. Very fast car on top speed. The only
Yeah.
thing that I would say is for balance of performance, it has a few things. We'll get into that later in the race.
Yeah, 100%. Perfect. So we're coming into the last couple of minutes of qualifying. So it is a 15-minute qualifying that these guys have got. Now, Brands Hatch GP, like I say, one of my absolute favourites. I think anyone that's into motorsport and been lucky enough to actually spend any time on track will know that Brands GP is such an iconic circuit as well. But it's difficult to make your own space, even though we are running on the bigger circuit. So it's about a 2.5 mile long circuit. It is difficult and it can get crowded out there. So you can see a few cars are pulling out of the way, and we've got a blue, just trying to see who that is. I think they've disappeared now, because who's that?
Yeah,
You'll
they
know
got out
that.
of the way. I missed that one, but they're getting.
Yeah.
Looks like people are just giving a bit of room. That's coming up to the final minute of qualifying. You'd find that if you've messed up this lap, you might not have time for another one. So they're just getting out of the way, getting in a good headspace to start the race. Benny, if we could jump on board with Mackenzie, we'll probably get a final lap
Yeah.
and see how he gets on. He is actually taking pole from Stillman. We're sitting at 1:32.18, so pressure's on for Stillman to see how he can get on with his final laps. We also know that M. Curran, who's another member of our Discord, is one for setting in a final flying lap.
Yeah, that's very, very true. And this back section of the circuit is such a fast circuit. You can see here this onboard shot gives a really, really good idea of how hilly it actually is and how much undulation there is. So he's just coming out of that back section now and going to be coming on to what we would say is the normal circuit, or the Indy circuit, which is ever so slightly smaller. So he's just coming through there. Let's see what he can do as he comes through Clark Curve, and will come onto the Brabham Straight to set that lap. And I think he's probably going to get one more lap in, maybe two. So what does he get there?
He'll probably get one. Looks like he's down on his time just now. A little bit wide after the first corner.
Yeah, and the thing is as well, going into Druids, it's an uphill braking section. So again, you have to bear that in mind. And then coming down really heavily down into 30s, which is, again, is such a good corner, fast first corner onto Cooper Straight and into 30s, sorry. And this section here,
he's pinned it. That's it. That's possibly the final lap.
So now we need to see if Stallman is going to set a lap or not. I don't actually know if he's out on the track.
No, he's not on track. So the only person that we possibly contention, I would say, is Curran sitting in third in the blue Aston Martin. However, we've switched to, we're watching the 5th place currently, who's currently in a AMG GT. Another strong car. It's just not quite got the balance of the Aston, but it is very similar power-wise and setup.
I mean, are we going to give a go at pronouncing that surname?
No.
We'll skip over that one.
Number 7, AMG.
Number 7, yes. We'll go with that. So. Absolutely.
All right, looks like that's it. Everybody counting in their final laps now. Let's see if they manage to get an upset, but it's looking like the grid order is hopefully, with commentator's curse, going to stay with Mackenzie Taylor up in first by 0.183 seconds off of Don Stillman. Don Stillman second. R. Stillman running in third in the number 5 Aston Martin. Then M. Curran, another Aston Martin, running in fourth. Then we have another AMG engine with number 7 AMG. I won't pronounce that name. Then we have number 6 Andy Clemson, who's in the KTM Fellas Garage 020, then followed by S-Deck Chevrolet. Now, you wouldn't think the Chevrolet would be that competitive a car, but it is very fast.
Yeah.
Then number 8, we have... Excuse me?
Perfect, yeah. So that's sort of rounding up the top 10 there. So we've got Steve's in P8, Heath in P9. Really good. Heath is a driver that's really developed over the last few weeks, and he's quite new to the Discord. And what we say as well is with the Discord, it is free for you guys to join. So it's just InGear Motorsport. Just while we're letting the guys kind of have a quick breather before the race start begins, we'll just do a really quick run through. So really good effort there by Mackenzie. I know he's going to be very, very happy with that, with the P1. D Stallman, though, is going to be all over the back of him with the R Stallman. So Neil, the Stallmans are back in their true form of being put together. So you can see the guys are getting ready to go then. So we've got just over a minute and a half before the race start begins. So a little quick run through of how the race start would normally operate is that they would do a full green lap. So do a full lap under safety car around the circuit. But the way that this game works is they've got about a half a lap roughly section. So I'm trying to work out where that is, and it's looking like it is on the back of Clearway, so it's actually not that far at all there. So Mackenzie's starting in P1, D Stallman in P2, and R Stallman P3. Curran in P4, really good effort there by him. Car number 7 AMG in P5, P6 Andy Klimpson, P7 S Deck, P8 N Stees, P9 Heath or Heath Keithy, and P10 Andrioni, I think we're going to go with there.
Yeah, I think that's a good one. In a Ginetta.
Okay. I'm trying to do it quickly. The Ginetta, yeah, we'll talk about that car actually once the guys get going. So at the moment, the guys are just having a really quick breather. And the guys, the normal crews, I would say, they're all in a Discord chat at the moment. So they might be having a quick conversation. But throughout the start process, they will be talking to one another and communicating as to, you know, okay, you guys need to speed up or slow down. And they have something what we call a HUD that sits around the car. So obviously in real life, you don't have to contend with things like Wi-Fi and, you know, internet speeds and things like that. So this HUD is basically controlling that. So when the guys start to take off in a minute, what you may start to see is that some of the cars go through one another. It's kind of like what we call a ghosting effect. They only have a few opportunities to do that though. So once they get to that start line, they are starting where they should start, if that makes sense. And I think we'll talk about that when we've got a bit more time then, Neil. But the guys are off now. So yeah, they're just coming around Clark Curve there, and they're going to be coming onto that Brabham Straight, and they're going to start to speed up. Kenzie doing a really good job there of managing the pace, something that he loves to do.
Yeah, we'll see them coming up to this straight line here.
Nearly there. Nearly there, and
so this 40 hold can be quite difficult in some cars, and here we go.
Okay, and here we go. So round 3 of our mini GT4 championship, and a really good start there by D Stallman. Mackenzie falling back into second place there as they go up to Druids. See how we get through Druids there, because this is a very, very tight corner. So this is where the guys need to give each other space as they come down through Druids into Grand Hill Bend.
There. One of the Ginettas clipped the side of D Murray there. It looks like coming off the second hairpin, and it has sent him off. We've got a bit of a commotion back there by the looks of things now. Quite a few cars off, but I don't think we can put that down to a racing incident. I think it was just a slight bump. I don't think it was...
Yeah, and I think we've got, who have we got there? I think we've got Curran as well, who's just gone off up there as well. So a little bit of a messy start, which is actually something that we don't see too often by these guys. It's probably one of the tightest circuits that we've been on for a little while as well. So it is going to bring that element into it. So if we can just go, I'm just going to ask very kindly to Ben, the race director, if we can just go up to the top 2 and let's just see what's happened up there, just to see who's done what. We can see that Stallman definitely overtook Mackenzie, and he looks like he's pulled away a nice little gap there, so about an 8-second lead already. So Mackenzie's going to be hot on the heels of D Stallman, bit like a carrot and the donkey effect there, because this is one of Mackenzie's favourite circuits as well. But what we want to manage though is that we don't let D Stallman get away too early on, and then other cars behind start squabbling, because that's where these really, really big gaps start to appear, which Neil, I know it's something that you faced last week at Suzuka.
Yeah, once a gap starts to form, it can get in your head a little bit, and then you start falling behind. I noticed that the grid's got some good space in here now. One of the problems with this track is there's a lot of fast to slow, fast to slow, fast to slow. So you'll see the cars separate out, but they might not be. They'll still be under a second within each other. You'll see once they get up to the slower corners, they'll be right back on each other. So there's plenty of opportunities to get a little bit of braking in there and really close up the gap.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can see that there's the top four, and S-Deck, he's not one of our normal, normal. So is he a pubber, as we call
He's
it?
a pubber. So,
he's a pubber.
So we've got him up in the... He's up in the Chevrolet. Looks like he's following up on our Stillman. He's got a little bit of a gap to close there, but the idea I think would be good for him is just to try and hold that gap for the next maybe 15 minutes or so. Just see how Stillman does, because if Stillman catches up to Mackenzie, which it looks like he will, it'll be very hard fought, and it might slow them both down and wear out their tires, which will give Deck a chance to slip right on through.
Yeah, absolutely. And Mackenzie will be thinking strategically, because it's something that we actually talk a lot about in the commentary box. Is this is where we can start to see the difference between people that have actually spent a lot of time racing, sort of maybe in the real world, or professionally in esports, compared to people that are just joining in, where you start to use racing tactics. And Mackenzie knows if he starts driving too defensively at the moment, all that's going to do is allow our Stallman to get onto the back of him a little bit more, and as a byproduct of that is that D Stallman is then going to pull away even further. So it's kind of like you say, Neil, absolutely, it's just about kind of waiting and sitting and planning, working out where people are weaker than others. And it actually looks like through Druids, Mackenzie's slightly quicker than Stallman, but Stallman's just managing to get the power down a little bit earlier there. And you can see as we go across the back on Cooper Straight up into Surtees, joining onto the GP circuit there. So a really, really technical part of the circuit. So it's on camera. You can see Mackenzie running ever slightly wide there.
Try and make a move.
Yeah.
But look what I was saying about the Camaro. This is giving him a chance. So now he's gotten up on Stillman. Yeah. He's going to try and sit there, and it looks like he's going to try and shut him out in the next corner. That's a bump. Oh, maybe a bit tight.
Going into Hawthorns on the outside, he's very, very brave by Stillman. Sorry, there.
Contact. Stillman needs to draw back.
So we'll keep an eye on P3 and P4, because we can see they're getting a little bump to bump. And I think this is where our race director is going to be looking very, very closely at car number 34 there, Best Deck, because
I would say that he had the line, and Stillman was trying to come back in. Nobody's had it. It's no damage. Nobody's went off. I think we can write that one off. But we've had one off by the looks of things. Car number 172 is Liam Sharman, who's one of our new regulars. Sadly, he's in run off. That's his second event with us, and his first time out in the R8. So we'll try and check back on him in a minute.
Yeah, I'm really rooting for Liam there as well, because again, new to the championship last week, but he's so open to learning from you guys, which is not coming in with any sort of ego, just getting his head down, knows he's got to put the hours in and the time in. I think he's a really good addition to the kind of community that's been built up over the last few months.
Yeah, definitely. Noticed a lot of people in the Discord, really helpful, really into the cars. Benny, could we? Yep, you're ahead of me already. Let's watch Curran and Murray's going to fight here. There's two blue cars. We have
the battle
Aston Martin. Aston Martin. This is a battle of Scots as well. We've got David Murray up from staying in Aberdeen, and then we've got Curran, who's down in Ayrshire, I believe, a bit further south. Very much the opposite ends of the country. It looks like Curran's a little bit faster, but David is very good defensive, so we'll see if we can hold him off here. The Aston Martin has a little bit of pull away, but the McLaren has definitely got the top end to keep him away. The question is, can David get on the brakes quick enough? Oh, looks like he's holding him just now. So we've got a 4-litre twin-turbo V8 in the Aston Martin against the 3-litre turbo of the 3.8-litre turbo of the McLaren. But the McLaren is mid-engined rather than front-engined like the Aston, which allows it to balance and transfer its weight a little bit easier in the corners. And you'll watch David when he comes up to transition on a corner. You'll just see he'll be able to use a bit more aero, except he goes off. Oh no! That looks like Curran's managed to take him, and then David's going to have Steez on his back. Niall Stewart in the 222 KTM.
Yeah, and again, coming off, we always say, and it's actually quite a cheesy thing that Mackenzie tends to say, but I'm going to copy it. When you go off, you don't just pay for it once, you pay for it twice, because those tyres now are going to be dirty. And again, these tyres, it's Pirelli tyres that's in the game. And Neil, you can talk about this in a bit more detail because you race the game, you're in the championship. How badly does that affect things?
So as you can see, David's maybe pushing a bit too hard. Tires will be warm. The tires will be dirty. He's had another off now. That's let a few cars get past. We're up watching Steez just now, who's going to be trying to fight up for what looks to be another position. Oh, he might not get it this lap, but we'll see how he gets on. Looks like he'll be getting up to 7th. He's got a bit of a gap, but Steez is one for pulling it back.
Yeah, Steez is a pretty consistent driver, which we've seen over the last, but especially in GT3. But over the last sort of couple of rounds, he's done really well and had some really good
in tune with his
battles.
KTM.
Yeah, I think it looks a bit like a Lotus Evora when
it does actually. Yeah, it does. Yeah,
not from the back, but definitely that front angle. So you can see a good battle there going on between the KTM and is it Grella? So again, I don't think he's a name that I've noticed in the Discord, but he could be a new member.
He's
Neil.
He's a new guy, Pubber, but it looks like he's managed to get the pass there. KTM doesn't quite have the straight line speed, so it really struggles. Niall needs to really get it through the corners. A lot of Brands is big straights coming up to slow corners, so he'll struggle in that regard. The Astons and the McLaren are just going to walk him out of the straights.
Yeah, it's a difficult car to be on a circuit like this, absolutely.
Well, in the comparison that you would say is, for example, that Aston that he's racing has 4-litre twin-turbo V8, and the KTM's a 2-litre Audi engine. So it's really relying on its aero. It's really relying on just being able to zip about everywhere, and this isn't the track for that.
Yeah, I mean, this is a very, very technical track, and it may look like there's a lot of overtaking opportunities, but it's not the widest track that we go to over the course of the next couple of weeks and over the previous weeks as well. It's fairly narrow, but fast corners. And the thing is as well, if you run off slightly wide here, which we saw a couple of laps ago with R. Stallman, and you can see it again with R. Stallman running really, really wide there. It just completely messes you up because it is, like you say, Neil, it's a fast circuit, but it also has a lot of stopping area as well. But that back section, you've got to get hooked up because if you lose momentum, then you absolutely kind of ruined yourself. And you can see there that moment that R. Stallman just had on the back section, the GP section of the circuit. He's now 2 seconds. That's cost him just over a second
off
like of
S-Tech is back to the pits. We've had a problem. Looks like he's had to go back to the pits, possibly retire. So we've had a shake-up in the top 3. It looks like we've got D. Stillman now, followed by Mackenzie Taylor, and then Ronald Stillman. Following up with Keithy Heathy, then Andy Clemson. We'll hopefully see the... Nope, looks like the Chevy has dropped out. Since he's not a regular, it's hard to check up on it, but a lot of people, sometimes they make a small mistake and then they decide, well, that's it, we're out of the race. But another 19 minutes to go, and it's not the biggest track in the world. You could definitely gain a few places back, especially being so high up in the grid.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's a bit of a shame when people, and I'm going to say it, and you can agree or not agree, but it's literally giving up, isn't it? You know,
it is.
Stay out there. You know, and I think what's so good about the grid and this community that we've kind of, I say community, it's like I'm talking about cult or something, but, you know, it's good because we've got a race everywhere along. You know, it doesn't matter where we put the camera to, sort of front, middle and backpack, we have got a race.
Speaking of which, Benny, it looks like 4th and 5th are going to start getting into fight. We've got Keithy Heathy followed up by Andrew Clemson. That's West Midlands racing the R8 Audi V10 5-litre versus the 2-litre TFSI engine in the KTM. See if Andy can keep up with him. Andy, very fast driver, very consistent. Has a bit of bad luck with getting donked, but let's see if he can catch up to Heath because it looks like he's been reeling him in there.
Now this would be interesting for you to see, Neil, because obviously we see things from the other side of the screen, if that makes sense, compared to normal. But it'd be interesting to see what you think about sometimes where Clemson puts it or Andy puts his car.
So one thing we could do actually, I think, is Benny, can you switch to a cockpit view, and then we'll have we'll go through and we'll watch this battle.
Even better, can we do a rear view from the back end of Keithy Heathy. That's always a really, really good shot there. So you can see, yeah, that's a mega view there, because what we can see here is Klimpson is so strong on the brakes coming into these corners. So you'll see how he kind of eats Heath up in the braking areas, but then Heath just manages to be able to put that power down a little bit earlier.
Yeah, so one of the things that we mentioned before with when I was talking about the McLaren was balance of performance. So in real life, these cars, you have to have a homologated car. So the Audi R8 V10, hundreds of thousands of pounds supercar, it's very fast car. It's a very fast car in real life. But to make it competitive within GT4, it has to be able to compete with the other cars that are in here. So, for example, the Aston Martin, the AMG GT are GT cars. They're a different class of car almost. Then you've got things like the KTM and the M4 and the Chevrolet, which are sports cars. So to bring them in, what they do is something called balance of performance, which tries to make them set very similar lap times. It's within the game, they do it very well, and usually it's within a second of each other. Like there'll be like maybe half a second between every car. But what you'll notice is, for example, Heath will struggle under braking because they've had to throw some extra weight in the R8 to make it less competitive. The KTM, however, sits at a minimum height of 110 mil, whereas in real life that car is on the deck. So it's all about the balance, and you'll notice that the drivers have to work around this coming out of the corners. Say, like, Heath can get on the power so much earlier. He's got a bit of weight on the rear wheels. He's got that traction, whereas Andy doesn't really have the weight, and the car's sitting a little high. So if he goes too early on it, he's just going to come out with the back end. You
can see that he's having to kind of wrestle with the car a little bit as well. It just doesn't look quite so settled. You know, he's really having to kind of feather that power on, whereas I think, like you say, he's just running a little bit wide. But this happens, and this is something that we set out in the regulations of this game, Neil, didn't we, that you guys have to stay in the same car throughout the championship, the same way that it would be, I say, in the real world, but as if you was, you know, racing normally.
If you paid hundreds of thousands of pounds for a GT car,
yeah, exactly, because
unless you're having a really hard time with it, we've tried to say that, look, if you've picked a car, try and stick with it in the championship. This is our first championship, so we're still setting out the rules. We've got obviously a little bit to figure out, and it's only, I think it's 4 or 5 rounds that we're doing, but that makes it really competitive. Nobody's going to walk away on points. Oh, it looks like Andy's coming up. No, sorry, Andy. Keith is coming up on someone here. It looks like maybe a back marker. That is Liam Sharman. Oh, it's not Liam Sharman, sorry, that'll be AI Sarge.
Yeah, Keith is looking fast. I mean, he's managed to pull out a 8/10 of a second gap to Klimpson. So he's looking like he's kind of settling in there. And like you say, we're going to start to see now the blue flag starting to come out for some of those back runners, I should say. I don't ever like to say it like that, but it is what it is. So some of our solo drivers, because it is a smaller circuit, so you know, we're halfway through now and we're starting to see that. It's actually, again, in the real world, and if you go FIA regulations, up to the faster driver to find the overtaking point. But I think it's a bit of an unsaid rule. If you're the slower car, get out of the way, and then just latch onto the back of them and, you know, learn from them from a couple of laps to kind of see where it is that they're slightly faster or not. So I'm going to very nicely ask Ben. So everyone that's been following us over the last few weeks know that Ben is he hasn't sworn in our ear yet, Neil. He's under strict instructions.
I mean, we must be doing better.
Shut up, basically.
Can you drop back one car, actually? Because it looks like Andy and Curran are going to have a fight here.
Just got here, Ian Ward saying, "Go on, Kirk, where is Liam? Lol." So, who's Kirk, Neil? Because you've all got a million different names.
So there's Kirk, Keith. Oh, looks like Curran almost got that there on Andy. Oh, he's going to pull him up on the inside. And he got around him on the inside of the hairpin. That was an excellent move. It looked like he duped him wide there to try and get him to brake early. Yeah, sorry, mate. It looks like Liam's down in 17th at the moment.
Liam's doing well, though, isn't he?
Check him in a second.
And I think, we was talking about cars, and Liam was in the BMW, so the M4 last round. I think he's wrestling with that a little bit, and so he has gone into the Audi R8, which is good because now he's got someone to help him with the setup side of things, and, just compare and go, okay, this is what I'm aiming for. And like we say, the Discord group and the server is free to join. The guys absolutely welcome it. I've kind of been like an honorary member because I've kind of just been dragged into this, but I must say I'm really enjoying it. It's a really good crew of people. You talk very regularly, don't you? You talk about, you have votes about things as well. So, you know, get involved, absolutely. The only sort of criteria for the championships and joining some of the races is there's a little bit of a safety rating that they kind of have to adhere to, because otherwise, yeah, I mean, I could go into it, and Neil, which is experienced in a free practice session where I nearly took him out. VR is not my vibe at all, but I have done a lot of time on a simulator before when I was racing. Oh, and there's a little bit of a moment there. Just trying to look to see who that
So we
was.
flipped down to Liam Sharman. This is his first race out in the WMR Audi. It looks like he's struggling a little bit, but we're getting used to it. Now, if you remember correctly, if you guys have been watching, we had Dee Murray join us recently, and this was pretty much where he was sitting 3 weeks ago. Right,
he's doing a really good job.
Trying to get used to it. It takes a little while to get used to this game. It can be very complicated to get around, like how you're supposed to use all of the track in these GT cars, and the GT4s are a little more forgiving than the GT3s, but it can be a little disheartening when you get past, and it's good to see him keeping going.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Really good. And I always do this. Like anyone that's new that comes in, I'm like, I root for them maybe more than I should. I shouldn't be biased sat back here, but we like to see it. So, Benny, can we go back up to the front end of the grid, and we'll kind of go back from top to bottom again and just see what's going on and keep an eye. So, D Stallman there, he has pulled out a massive gap there with 4 seconds.
He is on fire.
Yeah, he is fast. I mean, I can't see because again my screen is mega pixelated, but am I right in saying that he's setting consistent 132s?
Yeah, he's going real fast. So am I going to
sorry, you go, Neil. I just out of curiosity want to know I want to see what Mackenzie, so M Taylor in number 74, which I totally didn't know who that was when I joined earlier, which is a bit worrying considering I married him. I was like, who's M Taylor 74? And I've actually got it written in my notes here. I'm losing the place. The heat is the heat, but you know, we'll go with it. Can we just see? Yeah. So what's he saying? Interesting. They're running very similar lap times. So he's doing 1:32.4, 1:32.9, which Stallman says. I reckon something might have happened there, unless Stallman has put in some absolutely, you know, blistering laps to pull a gap of that size. They're, you know, they're running at like quite consistent times, which is a bit bizarre to see. This is all going to be about tyre management as well, isn't it? So we've got 10 minutes left of the race. 30 minutes isn't the longest race in the world, but absolutely you guys have to manage your tyres out there, don't you?
Yeah, so you don't want to be getting them too hot, and they can drop off a little bit. You usually get about an hour, maybe an hour and a half out of these tyres, but still in a half-an-hour race, you can roast them. You can roast your brakes, and it can really affect you coming up at the end of a 30-minute race. So if you look back, say, if we go back to 4th, 5th, and 6th, Benny, because looks like they're about to have a fight, you'll notice that these guys are going a little bit slower than the front runners because they're caught up in a fight. They're constantly moving across the track. They're tearing the tires, but they need to be careful. So Heath is defending right now against Curran, and there's only 9 minutes left in the race. So this is where it starts getting dangerous because it is worth it for Curran to make a move. So normally, like I was saying earlier in the race, you don't want to make the move now. You want to wait. You want to just make sure that you're in position. Curran is going to be all up in Keith's mirrors, as you can see. He's absolutely all over him, pressuring him to make a mistake, pressuring him to move across the track, maybe brake a bit too late, maybe turn in a bit too sharp. So if he can just push Heath into a little mistake, that'll be it. You'll go past. Like you were saying earlier, Charlotte, this isn't the widest track. You need to almost make the space to pass.
Yeah, and what's going to be quite interesting though, we dragged Keith, whatever million names he's got, like losing the plot with that now. We dragged him into a conversation at the end of race 1, I think it was, last week, and he's thinking cleverly. He knows that this is a championship, points mean prizes. So he's using his brain. I know that sounds a bit of a stupid thing to say, but some people just want to, the championship might not be something that they're too fussed about, which is, you know how competitive I am, Neil. It is something that you have to sit there and you start having to calculate, okay, I need to finish here, end up in, X, Y, Z of the championship. So he's not Heath isn't going to do anything stupid because we know his mentality going into this race. So like you say, if Curran, and you speak to him obviously more than what I do, is
Oh,
thinking,
here we
hang on a minute,
go.
I've kind of got nothing to lose. So he's eyeing him up, and he's all in the mirrors of Heath as well. And this is something that we're starting to see you guys do a little bit more. And I don't know if you know that you're doing it, but you're all starting to get up in each other's mirrors. So yeah,
Oh
just coming
no!
out onto there, onto grab him
Oh,
straight.
he's
What?
away. He's off.
Yeah, and
So
he's
that's
got
what I
that
was speaking
inside
about.
line
Curran just
going
got
into
up in his
Paddock
mirrors.
Hill. Oh, and there's a switchback there by Heath. Absolutely perfect move by Heath. Oh, is he going to hold that? Oh, now
So that was
that's
Heath that went
typical.
off, and you might be a little bit behind here, Charlotte. Heath went off, and Curran got the pass.
Yeah,
Curran in the blue Aston Martin. He's
yeah.
taking fourth position now off of Heath.
Yeah, no,
Looks
I
like,
was watching that, and I think that's a little bit of a debatable one. Without being able to kind of watch it back, it's a bit of a tricky one to say here. But Heath did have that line going into Paddock Hill Bend because he had the switchback. Curran down the straight made the perfect move, but Heath made that switchback, got a little bit of oversteer, back has come out, and then Curran kind of just nudged his door, and that was enough to send him off into the gravel. So, racing incident or not, I know Ben will be trying to have a look back at that just to kind of see what the score is there with that. But really good racing by both of them. At least they're going for it. I'm
yeah.
quite surprised at that switchback by Heath, to be honest.
It,
That's not a very him kind of move.
No, it looked like he was pushing a little bit too hard to get
Yeah.
Curran on the top, and the mid-engine Audi. If you get a little bit oversteer, it's quite easy to just snap the other way, sends him right into the wall. Looks like he's lost a few positions out of that, but he'll be back on track. So we've got just an update to the leaderboard now. Stillman still way out in front, followed by Taylor, followed by Stillman again, the father. Then we've got Curran just coming up behind them. It looks like a bit of a gap for third. I'm not sure he'll manage to pull that back in. Then we've got Andy close on Curran's tail. Then we have Grella following them with Keithy Heathy back on track. Looks like he's in a fight now with an M4. And well, it shouldn't be fighting because it's a back marker.
Yeah.
But let's find out. It looks
he's
like
got the pace as well.
You'll get away from him. The only problem is that you might have some damage now, and aero damage, well, it's not as bad in these cars as it is in GT3, can really mess you up. So we've also got, sorry, I'm going through the list again. We've got Steez in 8th. He's a little bit behind Heathy as well. Hasn't quite managed to put the gap back there when he went off. Then we've got Leone 9th and Murray closing it out in 10th. He looks like he's a bit further back than 9th as well. Looks... maybe the positions will change, but I'm not really sure. It looks like third. R. Stillman is catching up to Mackenzie Taylor, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can we jump up one place?
It's interesting to see that R. Stillman not being quite as dominant as maybe what he's normally has been. You know, we don't know. What I think, again, what's quite a good thing here, this is a UK track. So this isn't just UK drivers that we've got in here. We've got drivers from all different nationalities, hence why a lot of the time we can't pronounce some of the names, but we give it a good shot, and I think they appreciate it. But a lot of, you know, us, the Brits, we know Brands Hatch really well. It's actually a track that I've raced at with Mackenzie, not against each other, together in a team endurance race, which has been really, really cool. It's a hard track, and I think that, you know, a lot of people that play esports, or even people that are racing in real life, get a lot of stick. They go, I don't get why it's physical. And you know, Neil, when we're racing, you know, you have to be so physically fit the whole time. I'm definitely nowhere near as fit as what I used to be because I've been training all the time. But it's tiring, isn't it? So fatigue starts to get brought into this, and it's something that with the 90-minute race, so the charity race that we did a couple of weeks ago, I think it was something that a few of you was a little bit worried about because it's the longest kind of stint that you had done. How did you find it?
So I was playing sitting in a beanbag on the floor with a Wheelstand Pro. Not ideal for 90 minutes. That would hurt. It actually inspired me to go out and just buy a sim rig. It made it a lot easier.
I mean, I couldn't believe you didn't have a proper one before. And I think it's really important. And we will, I think in the next race we'll do that, just because we've only got sort of 3-4 minutes left now. But we should talk about the rigs that everyone's using, because there are differences between them, and positives and negatives. I think it goes down to personal preference. But Neil, remind us to talk about that at some point when things quieten down over the last couple of laps, because I just want to keep our eyes on this sort of battle between M Taylor and R Stallman there, because it looks like things are starting to hot up ever so slightly there. So we're looking at
Oh, he's
P3. I'm
really
just
closed the
looking
gap.
time. Yeah. So
Benny,
I'm
can we get a
wondering.
driver's view for Stillman, and then we'll get an idea of what it looks like inside the car when he's
Yeah.
chasing Mackenzie?
Yeah. I'm wondering whether Mackenzie put his tyres a little bit.
It's possible. Now these two are the same in the same car, and they should be running the same
I
setup.
was going to say they're same setup, aren't they?
So if you watch, Mackenzie's a little bit, Stillman's a little bit unstable, and Mackenzie's off. So they're both making almost even mistakes, which is keeping the gap there. But
very different lines they both took through there.
So I think maybe what you said is just a bit of
oversteering,
poop tires. They're just like getting to the end of the race, and they've really been pushing it. So we'll just have to see. Now it looks like Stillman's reeling him back in on this back section, but then you get to the first section of the track, and Mackenzie just gets away with a bit more technical.
And this corner that they're coming into now is by far my favourite section of the circuit. So single bell into Sheens, and then through down into Clearways and Clark Curve. It's an absolutely lit part of the circuit. And you can see there are they're staying slightly even now. So there's 7 tenths between them with 2 minutes to go. So it's going to be close, isn't it? You know, I think Stallman's going to have to do something either pretty magnificent, or Mackenzie's going to have to do something that's going to mess up a little bit. So we'll see, because like you say, Neil, they're running the same car, same setup, because I know that they shared the setup. That's very late braking there by Stallman, going into Druids, but he's lost a lot of speed and a lot of traction coming out down Graham Hill and into Cooper Straight. So let's see what that's cost time-wise. And they're going back up through into 30s and back onto the GP part of the circuit. So you can see it's such a full-on circuit, Neil. There's not much time for them to take a break, is there? I guess this bit here is probably the only bit, but it's still, even though it looks straight, you're starting to think about it a lot, because it's such a fast part of the circuit, so they're having to line everything up quickly. And you can see that little mistake by Stallman that I was talking about a few corners ago. That's lost in 2 tenths of a second. So he's now a second off of Mackenzie, which is good news for Mackenzie, but not so quite so good news for Stallman there, because I think he was hoping he was looking like he was going to try and make a move, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think that's probably cost him the lap there, and we're possibly looking at nothing shifting for second and third. I don't think he's going to be able to close that unless we have a mistake.
I mean, we could be doing commentators' curse.
That's what I'm trying to do. That's what I'm trying to do.
It's nice to meet Mackenzie. I'm rooting for him, obviously, but no, it's been a fantastic race, hasn't it? Again, like action-packed the whole way throughout the grid. You know, good battles between Andy and so Aitkenson and Curran as well. So we'll have a quick look at Stallman out in the lead there. So a little bit of a boring and lonely race for him again, but that takes an awful lot of skill as well to just bang in those laps time after time. And he's so consistent on his lap times. He's constantly at a 1:32.2. Lap before that was a 1:32.9, but he probably knows now. He's like, right, do you know what? Last lap, I can kind of back off ever so slightly and just make sure that I take it home. And let's not forget that these Stallmans, so Don Stallman, the Stallmans, for you guys that are new to the stream, they're a father-son duo. So following him through the last latter stages, so back down through Clearways, got one more corner, and then he'll finish the lead there. And we can see that we've got Paulina, so Danny Price is going, come on guys, don't forget guys as well, at the end of this evening we need you guys to vote for your driver of the day, because we get that championship point is given to someone, whoever gets the most votes. So Ian, Paulina, if you've got your other friends working, I'm managing all the social media streams here as well. So great race there.
Ben, if we could flip to 9th and 10th and 11th, it's looking like things might heat up on the final few corners here. Heathy up in the 10th place. He's got a bit of damage, but he can fight for that last point that he needs to get. Then we've got a Pubber in the mix just back from them. You can see can D. Murray hold off Keith Heath for the last sections of the lap.
Yeah, a strong battle there. You know, it's good to see a group of sort of 4 or 5 cars on the last.
Oh no! Heath's had a bit of a moment. He's gone wide. Oh, that'll be it. He'll be Let's see if he can hold 10th place off the Aston Martin of.
He was doing so well. So we'll stay with this battle now for the last lap, because we don't have the luxuries of having 25 screens the way the guys do with F1 and BTCC. So poor Benny in the background is having to go flat out at the moment, doing a great job as always.
Here we go. Can Heathy hold it? That Aston is catching. Catching.
Oh. Tough race for Heath there, really tough race.
In the points, 10th place.
In the points, yeah, absolutely. And we will talk about the points, sort of why we've got a bit of time. But yeah, flashing lights there from the guys, sort of giving it the big one on the way in, which we usually do in the real life as well. Great race there. Benny, I don't know if it's possible. Is it possible to get the overall standing orders there, just so we can have a quick run through? Lovely. So P1 again is D Stallman. That's done his championship a world of good, because he's currently running first in the championship anyway. So he's going to get another maximum of 15 points for P1 there. P2 Mackenzie Taylor, going to be biased here. Absolute valiant effort. He's had very limited running time in that AMG. I know Stallman's have helped him with this setup, so it's nice to see him, you know, not swap out with you, Neil, and do a bad job, because that would be a waste of time. R. Stallman in P3, M. Curran, good drive from him in P4. Andy's done a really good job there, so A. Climpson in P5, because that KTM did look like a big handful around that circuit. It's not the ideal track for that car at all. R. Grella in P6. G. Lian, we're going to go with that. P8, we're just going to go with it. And so Steve, P9 Murray, and rounding up the top 10, we've got Heath there. And I'm just having a little look to see where Liam's done. And Liam's done really well, because this is a hard track. And we've got 22 cars in the grid, and he's finished 16th. His first race outing in that Audi R8, like you say. So I think a really good effort there.
Yep. Very good. Sticking on track always get you places. Like we were saying before, a lot of people just have an accident, they give up. We had S. Deck in the 34 Chevrolet. He was running second place for most of the start of the race, and then quit. He's a DNF, so Liam beat him.
Yeah, and you know, again, it's like we say. What I'm going to try and be a little bit cheeky, and I'm going to just drag Mackenzie up into the chat and see if he will talk for a minute. So let's throw him in. So Mackenzie, we've just dragged you back up into the commentary box, so your normal stomping ground, I guess. How was that race for you? Like, well done to start off with, not being biased.
Yeah, no, it was good. Really enjoyed it. I just didn't quite have the legs on Dom. He got a slightly better start than me. Thought I could go with him. Made a little mistake, and that was enough for him just to sort of break the toe and got away. I think the traffic didn't help a little bit. I got caught a bit short on one of the first lots of traffic we came up to, and then that just sort of extended the gap. Couldn't really do much else with it, but yeah, it was good.
Yeah, no, it looked really, really good. And what was quite interesting is actually me and Neil, we was watching kind of what between you and Stallman, what you was doing, and you was lapping consistently the same lap times. So you was all around that 1:32.4, 1:32.5 kind of marker. So yeah, it's just the case of that he didn't get lucky, but he just managed to get away, and there was a little bit of squabbling that was going on in the back end. How is it to be out there racing again?
Yeah, really good fun. It's nice to know that I could still put some half decent lap times in after being in the commentary box the last few weeks.
You know, second, mate. So you want to pick up the next race?
We got to go a bit faster. On that note, how is Neil doing? Is he keeping my chair warm?
I think he's doing a really good job. Yeah, I can understand him. So it's a bonus. Luckily, we haven't got too many difficult names. There's one name that we're just kind of.
Yeah, I saw there was a Giovanni.
Oh no, that one's fine. There was another one, but yeah, we're trying our best between Essex and Scotland. We're making it work. So yeah, those all
like the start of a joke.
Yeah, we'll leave it there. So yeah, if you're all good, we'll drop you back down just to give you sort of a couple of minutes to sort yourself out, because I can imagine it's pretty hot.
Yeah, it's roasting.
Behind.
Yeah, sounds good. Hopefully go one better in the next one.
Yeah, no, good. Yeah.
You better. You're taking my spot. No, good luck, mate. Good racing.
Yeah, good luck. I know your race number now, so
Yeah, that
which
helps.
I forgot earlier. Soz. Cool. Okay, we'll drop you back down. Thanks, Mackenzie.
Thank you.
Wicked. So really good to catch up with the drivers there. So we'll just do a little quick run through because I'm aware that we're running a little bit late. I think we're still going to do an official practice if Ben can kind of give me a yes or no in the back of my yeah, we are. So we're probably running 5 to 7 minutes sort of behind timings, but yeah, rough timings are that we're going to start the official practice. I think it's going. Is it going now? I can't see on my screen.
Not quite yet. We have an end of race timer that just continues on for a little bit. Just so we can make timers and things like that.
Yeah, I think as well. I keep banging on about it, but it is absolutely roasting. So we're just trying to give the guys a little bit of a chance to go and get a drink and sort themselves out because, again, like we were talking about, Neil, the fatigue side of things does start to kick in, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, it gets you bad. Especially if you're up racing in the mix, 30 minutes, like 30 degrees some places in the UK today. So you just
34
sweaty.
Precise, not that I'm
34.
yeah,
But you know, it gets a bit much when you've not got any air conditioning.
Yeah, I mean I've got a 2-fan setup going on at the moment. Yeah, it's pretty toasty still at 8:30 in the evening. So really good race there, and like we say, championship points wise, it's really important. That's what these guys are battling for, is this championship. So we've got around next Tuesday and the following Tuesday. Guys were originally racing on a weekend, so on a Saturday during the lockdown period, but obviously as things start to ease, that's where we've made the decision that we should probably change the day to a Tuesday, and I think it's working quite well. And like we say, the server is free for you guys to join. Yeah, just InGear Motorsport. You can follow on YouTube, Twitch, and also Facebook Live. So get involved. We want your comments. That's what it's all about. We keep the stream up as well, so you can come back and view it. If you miss it on a Tuesday evening, you can watch it on a Wednesday lunchtime or something like that. So make sure you join in. It's good to see the guys back in. So Ian, my man, Liam. Yeah, Ian's been quite a good follower over the last few weeks. We've had a few comments from him. Neil, I've got a very important question to ask you.
Go on.
How's the team manager of Sheba Garage going on, and not you, the real team manager?
Oh, that's the real team manager. So we have an 11-year-old rescue Shiba Inu. He's a lovely white Shiba Inu who's the team manager. You might see him on the side of David's car, and you'll see him on the side of Danny's car once he comes in. He is enjoying the race, not enjoying the heat. But
yeah,
for once, I'm not getting shouted at for doing badly. So
I think you've done like the last few rounds. You've really got up. Like you're always fast. You're always fast, Neil. But I've seen, like from my side of things, that your racecraft's really started to.
It's one of the things I was struggling with.
I feel like it's really developed.
Yeah, one of the things I was struggling with was I was braking far too late, far too aggressively, and not quite using all the track. So I've tried to improve that. Obviously, it takes time with anything else.
Yeah, I think it's one of those. It sounds stupid, but the more you practice, the better you get. It's kind of how it is, isn't it? And I think doing this championship and putting a bit of a sort of schedule to it as such, I think is helping everyone. So just for you guys out there, obviously this is race evening or race weekend number 2, so round 3 and round 4. Next Tuesday we've got the next weekend or next evening, and that's at Monza. Again, a really good circuit. And then the week after that, so the 25th of August, we've got Silverstone and the Silverstone GP circuit. So it's kind of nice to do a couple more of the UK circuits, I think, and mix it up ever so slightly. How are you feeling about Monza next week, Neil?
Monza's not my favourite track. I'll go and reckon. Monza's a very popular track in public servers and games, so it gets played a lot. So I'm just sort of used to it. But it's a good track. It's just pretty overplayed. I think I'll be all right on Monza. I've had a fair bit of time on it, but I'm not expecting to see top 3 positions. Although last time I did get one because Mackenzie had a little accident.
Let's just dig him out. We need one of Danny's JCBs to throw him under the bus, which would be good. So, Benny, again, I'm sort of struggling with my feed a little bit. I think everything's gone into meltdown. Or Neil, you could tell me, has free practice started?
So we're having a little bit of a problem with the server. It's going to need rebooted. It's not.
Okay. Cool.
We have a race weekend set up normally where it shows basically it goes through replicates a whole race weekend and the weather that comes with it. So races qualifying, free practice, and the race on Saturday, and then another one on Sunday. However, sometimes the server can get a little bit stuck, so we've had to boot everybody out, and then we'll get everybody back in for the next session. So I'm going to give it a minute before I rejoin, just to make sure that the server browser doesn't think that the server's full. But we'll get the feed back on shortly.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think this is something that, again, over the last 3 months, you know, we had no real motorsport. It's only been the last few weeks that we've managed to have loads of F1. We're second round now of British Touring Cars was at the weekend as well. So esports become a thing, and all of a sudden people started to take it a little bit more seriously. And the amount of people I have on my Instagram that all of a sudden, like, we need a sim setup, or I need a rig, or and having to understand it, because it's not just like turning your Xbox or your PlayStation on. There's a hell of a lot that goes into creating this kind of series. So Neil, you obviously know loads more about this. Can you kind of fill the guys in that are watching how this operates, and also talk me through some of the setups and what setup you actually use yourself, because you said that you've the team boss has allowed a new setup for you, not being bad.
So one thing that, like you said, with the start of lockdown, people were stuck in their homes, and they realized that they want to fix their racing. So we've noticed a massive increase in sim racing, and with that, people have wanted to watch. We've also had the real life GT drivers getting in on it. With this game, for example, it's sponsored by SRO anyway, who run GT3, GT4 championships for Europe and the UK, and even like a global one. So they've really stepped up and been broadcasting the actual esports events, and they run a lot of championship races that almost amateurs can join. So you need to qualify with a decent time, and then obviously with that you're going to be skilled anyway, and then you get the chance to race with actual professional race car drivers in that case. So myself, I run a GT Omega rig now. I used to run a beanbag with a wheel stand pro, but I've got a T300 RS Thrustmaster with the T3 Pre pedals with the brake mod, which is a squash ball shoved in there. And
we need to talk about this, because you kind of say it so casually. But yeah, you've got a squash ball. I'm just going to pause you there for a minute, Neil, just before I quiz you, just to give the guys a little bit of an update on timing. So we've got free practice that's happening at the moment. We are actually, it's kind of been agreed sort of in the background, that we're going to cut that short. So probably got about a minute and a half left of that, and then we're going to dive straight back into qualifying. So Neil, do we know, and you're in the game, I can't get into the game, so I'm watching it through the Discord server. Do we know what the weather's going to be like for this second race? Because obviously race 2 last week was an absolute...
looks like it's going to be a nice, warm, clear day, as it is in real life. So we seem to be replicating the real life weather.
Yeah.
We're just, like you said, we've got a little bit of a pause, so we'll just get everybody back into the server and then get qualifying. Looks like Danny Price has joined us in the 159 Shiba Garage from McLaren. Finally.
So they're back again. Shiba Garage is back nearly in full force. 2 out of 3 cars is a fag going, which is really good. Nice to have him back. Now, Danny usually likes to throw a bit of the spanner in the works, because he kind of works behind the scenes as well, getting the server sort of up and running and all of that kind of jazz that's with it. He does like to throw in a wet race, which I personally love.
It really mixes up the grid when you throw in a bit of weather. Some of these guys, like not even necessarily just us, but the public guys, you race on community servers, which will generally just be nice, dry, nice temperature, things like that. So when we try and set it up, expression. What we try and do is, for 1 or 2 of the races in the championship, we'll set it to just not unpredictable weather, but you can't come in and say, oh right, okay, these are going to be all dry events, it'll all be 30 degrees and my tires are going to be perfect. So the temperature will drop, it'll get to later in the evening, or it'll rain, or heavy rain, light rain, overcast, things like that. All of it affects your performance. So all of it will affect your tire temperature, your intake temperatures, the way the air is for your aero, things like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty full on. And again, this kind of falls down to the championship side of things as well. We need to talk about points because it's something we haven't spoken about yet. So you touched on it in the last couple of laps. We are scoring points from 1st to 10th position. So in exactly the same way that Formula 1 kind of operates in a point system. So P1 or whoever's the winner gets 15 points, P2 will get 12 points, 3rd position will get 10, and then down from 4th through to 10, it goes from 7 points all the way down to 1. So really, you need to kind of be getting in the top 3 to get a real big sort of points push. And then P4, like I say, 7 points, P5 is 6, P6 is 5, and so on. So I'm trying to frantically add up the the points, but my brain doesn't work that quickly. But we do post up the results and the championship standings all the time. But yeah, you can say that absolutely Stallman's still definitely going to be in 1st position in the championship because he's actually got maximum points that you could get at the moment.
He'll currently be on 45 points.
Yeah, Stallman coming 3rd, so he would have got 10. So, well, like very quickly adding this up as we go. So he's running on 22 points, so he's definitely going to be still in P2. The battle now is going to come between P3, 4, and 5. So Steez, Curran, and Heath / Jeff / Keith / Kurt / every other name. So West Midlands Racing, they've all kind of each race finished in a very different kind of position. So over the course of the next few races, they need to start thinking tactically about that and thinking, is it worth me finishing in P6 and definitely making it through rather than going for the balls out move and not.
Like we were speaking about with Keith earlier, if he hadn't, if he'd just let Curran hold it on that corner, dropping behind him, he would have finished in, I believe,
it was a surprising move by Heath. I thought, it was a great move because of the swap back, but it's not something that we often see him doing. So just want to cut to qualifying then because the guys are out. So it's a 15-minute qualifying, and then we've got another 30-minute race. So we're kind of getting back on time, which is all good. So it'll take us to about 9:30, 9:40 this evening. So we can see there the camera's currently on Mackenzie Taylor. I think we've got to give him a little bit of the limelight, seeing as he's usually sat here in the commentary side of things for me. Really strong finish by him in P2 in the first race. He's just going out. No one's actually set a lap yet from what I can see on my screen.
So this will be the first flying lap by the looks of it. They went out, got the tires warmed up. You should start to see the times rolling in soon. Yes.
So it's kind of, this first lap is just sitting and waiting. I don't know if any of the guys have made any setup changes. I don't know if maybe, Neil, you could drop into the Discord and just ask if anyone's done anything or if you know anything because you've spoken to them. But I don't think you guys...
So generally between the races, if it's going to be the same weather, there's not much point in changing. Stillman's were very strong again. Mackenzie got a good run. He was using their setup, and I don't know if Curran is running their setup, but it was available. So I'm expecting another strong race from the Astons. They seem to be set up very well in this track, in this environment. A very strong car in GT4, and might have to look at some BOP changes for that car. The Audi, it'll be interesting to see. Keith Heath might have to drop his tire pressures, try and get a bit more downforce on that rear wing. It looked like he was sliding out a little bit. Definitely caught him when he tried coming around that first corner. It snapped on him real hard. The KTMs, they look pretty strong. It's not a great track for them. It's a very fast track.
No.
So it could be difficult.
It just looks like they're constantly fighting against that car. It looks very twitchy, very unsettled. I mean, they're doing a great job.
It's so high. And it's just, ideally, that car is like wanting to be absolutely on the deck. It has maximum aero. It's got a tiny little engine with about 360 horsepower. So it's like lightweight and supposed to be going very fast. And it's just struggling a bit on bronze.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a track that's not for them. But like we say, we mix the tracks up. We've got a good sort of mixture of circuits. So Suzuka, I think, is just an absolutely fantastic circuit. This is, I think, this is a real driver's circuit. You know, you can't get away with making too many mistakes there. And you know, you can see actually Mackenzie a couple of corners ago just went flying off through Paddock Hill Bend there. So, you know, they're making mistakes. They're trying to see where the grip is and can they do anything more. And if you're going to do it, now's the time to do it. You know, free practice qualifying, you've got that kind of free hand where you can make a mistake, run off. I think it's advisable that if you're going to do it, make sure you have set a good lap beforehand before you start trying to spank it off and see where you can get the extra edge, if that makes sense. If you are looking for that last couple of attempts, you know, get a decent lap on the board and then you can kind of start to be a bit experimental from there on in. So, Benny, can we have a little shifty round on the cameras there? Because as much as I love Mackenzie, I think we should spread the love a little bit more and see what's going on down the back of the grid. So nice to see Heath back out. You know, really good. He just always gets on with it, doesn't he? He's not. You know,
he'll plug away. He'll be back in. Won't even be phased about his first.
Yeah, I tell you what. I think we'll try and drag him, depending on. I think we'll do it anyway. We'll just throw him up into the. We'll do an interview with him after this race, just to chat about the evening. We'll throw Mackenzie, and you know, we'll see what they've got to say for today. So yeah, he's looking pretty good there. What's he doing? So
he's 7/10 off that. So it's 133. Looks like. But he's qualified 4th so far. Let's see if he can hold that. He needs to put a bit more time in, I think, just to hold that 4th place. But I'm expecting him to qualify. If he's setting those times, maybe 6th or 7th. If he can get a bit faster, he'll hold that place easily.
He's actually fast for the amount of time that he's been in this sort of Discord chat.
So Heath isn't new to sim racing. He's been doing a lot of sim racing. I know he's told us before that he's been playing racing games all his life. So this isn't new. Racing isn't new to him, but racing with other people in Discord, kind of it's a new thing for anybody. You race with new people. People drive differently. People are a bit more aggressive. Say if you race against Dan O'Brien, which is one of our regulars, he's a very defensive driver. It's very difficult to get past him. Whereas if you come up with a Stuhlman, you just have to hang on.
Yeah, I think as well what's good about this is we have got some drivers in here that are seriously fast, you know, and again, like the Stallmans are just very dominant, very, very, very committed to it, mega fast. Mackenzie, he's got the background experience of, you know, racing in the real world, and very fortunate that racing in the real world with aero, which I think is quite a big thing to take into it as well.
Yep.
You know, and like you say, and then you've got drivers like Dan O'Brien. Dan O'Brien gets literally 0 time in, always is there or thereabouts, considering the amount of time. He usually comes in 10 minutes into qualifying, will bang a lap in, quickly go and eat something because he probably literally just finished work. But he's so defensive. And then we see, like, you've got your racecraft has just got better and better and better. So you're now running up in the top 4. Top 3, top 4 all the time. So it's good to see that. It's just making the racing harder, isn't it?
Yeah, and one thing you notice, like I was saying, is you learn how these others play. So, for example, when we were saying earlier with Heath and Curran, I was able to call that one of them was going to have a mistake. They were both like, you could see from their driving styles that you get used to that one of them was pushing too hard, and it was Curran pushing Heath a little bit too hard, and you could see he was braking too late for that Audi, and it was going to end in tears at some point. But it's just something you get used to when you play with a group of people.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's see what the top end are doing there time-wise. So we've got 6 minutes left here on the clock. I think what we're tending to find, though, is that lap time is being put in quite early on. And then they're kind of just scratching around, especially for the top sort of 3, top 4. Then they're kind of scratching around. But Curran has just put in, or we knew this was going to happen with D. Stallman. He just put in a 1:31.9. Yeah, and I mean, it's a high 1:31, just in there, but it's a 1:31. So really,
over half a second between 1st and 2nd place now. Yeah,
absolutely. Ben, can we get an onboard with D. Stallman, so P1, that Aston Martin car 92 there, because that is an absolute, I mean, that's a fast time. Again, we was all having this conversation at the start of the evening. It was like, no, okay, we was expecting Stallman to do it. He didn't quite do it in the first race or the first qualifying, but he's obviously found something between you know, in the 5-minute break to, you know, get that couple of tenths quicker. Curran, though, has put in a really good lap. I mean, he's still 6 tenths off, but that's still, you know, a big improvement.
Still a good lap.
Currently, he's out qualified Mackenzie there. So Mackenzie's dropped down into P3. Our Stallman there is, he's again, mega fast driver, but he seems to be struggling around this circuit. He seems like he's fighting with the car the whole time.
So I don't think R. Stillman's quite as happy with the Aston Martin as his son is. We've seen a couple of times he's just struggled a little bit to get it round. He's not quite as on his son's tail as he normally is, but we know that these guys work on setups together. We know these guys work well together, and I think we'll see him pull it out. Race 2, he's going to be up there. He's going to be top 3 again. We'll see how Curran gets on. It looks like he had a bit of bad luck last race, but he's a very fast driver. So hopefully he'll be holding up top 3 as well. Looks like Mackenzie back in the top again.
He needs to pull his finger out.
Yeah, he needs to pull his finger out.
No pressure, I need to shout up to the top of his upstairs.
I'm not giving him my place in the race, and then he's coming in, what, 3rd here?
Yeah. Shocking behaviour. So Heath has then just dropped back a little bit there. Clemson, P6. So they're all sort of P5 down to kind of P8, P9. It's kind of like the normal-ish crew. I think we've got a few hubbers in. I'm going to use the lingo there, Neil. I feel proud. Really good to see Danny Price has made it into race 2, though. I really enjoy watching Danny. So the second out of 3 cars in the Sheba garage team racing there, because he has come on leaps and bounds. Like, for me, he's such a consistent driver. I think he's had a little bit of bad luck. I was absolutely gutted for him in that charity race. I was so gutted for him, but he's done really well. So I've got Benny in my ear there, Neil, and I'm sure you would have just heard him going, who's M. O'Brien? So M. O'Brien is not a relation to Danny O'Brien. However, and I don't think it is his dad, I'm like 1,000,000% certain, but his dad is actually M. O'Brien. So we'll do a shameless plug here. We'll do a little advert, Neil, because we said we was going to throw it in. M. O'Brien Plant House, you see him all along the motorway. So that is his dad. I highly doubt that's his dad doing this, though. If it is, can I just say, if it is, let's just leave the camera on that for the whole race, because it will be super entertaining, that's for sure. Obviously, Irish background. Danny O'Brien comes from a sort of big rally background. I raced against Danny in karting. He went off to do rallying. Didn't speak for a few years, and now, you know, we're all kind of best mates and kind of Mackenzie. And so it's a really nice crew. So motorsport's a very, very, very small world there. So El Sharman's doing really well. So Liam's doing really well in that Audi. He's actually managed to drag it up into P12. He obviously finished in P16 last time. So, you know, that's a good sort of step forward in his times. I don't actually know what he's doing, but I think he's a couple of seconds shy of where he needs to be in terms of mid-pack pace, I would say, which I think, you know, that's quite a good effort. Because like we say, this is a technical track, isn't it? Yeah.
So what I would say is with the inexperienced drivers, it is actually quite handy to get into races like this, because you can hook in behind a more experienced driver. Yeah. So, for example, the qualifying, he's got a bit of a gap between people. He's trying to stay out of people's ways, things like that. But once we get into the race, you'll find that you'll be able to hook in behind somebody, and then say, like, he could maybe follow Danny around there for a lap, and you'll be able to learn the lines a little bit better. Maybe learn where to brake, things like that. Get a little bit of a toe from the aero, and that builds your confidence so much, being able to hook into a faster driver. And it just lets you learn where you're going wrong. And most of the time with these new guys is that they're actually not using enough of the track. So you think that you want to turn tight and you want to stay really tight to the apex for every corner, but you've got
to let it flow.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. So we've got about a minute and, well, just under a minute and a half there of qualifying left. So we're just coming up into the final stages of qualifying. So we'll see a few cars. They may decide to park it if they think they can't get anything more out of the car, or they might just start to get one lap left in. So if we can go up to the sort of the sharp end of the grid there, Ben, just to see what the top guys are doing. You're doing a great job there, Ben. We haven't had any swearing as of yet, and it's 8:55, so that's a good effort. So R. Stallman, yeah, Neil, you was bang on the money there. You said that you think R. Stallman was going to pull something out of the bag, and he's only 2 tenths off of D. Stallman, his son, so the father-son duo there. Now, I wonder if they have done something very quickly during the break. It could be tyre pressures, it could be anything, but Stallman's found quite a bit of time there. But bear in mind though, Mackenzie is he's more than 7 tenths. He's enough off pace, and they're running identical setups.
However, you've got to remember that these guys have been putting in the time with the Motec and things like that, and then they've just had another half an hour with the races, basically another half an hour on track with another 15 minutes qualifying, and so
it'd be interesting to know, wouldn't it? Because my head would go that something for me, I don't know, something could have changed, but yeah, you're absolutely right. Mackenzie could have just dropped off a cliff and is falling asleep upstairs. Who knows? Maybe he needs another monster.
Well, Mackenzie's setting a consistent time with what he did before the thing,
and they've just gone another chunk forward, haven't they?
And Curran has always been fast. So it's not unusual to see this grid order. Keith Heathy's doing very well, though. He's up there in 5th.
Yeah.
Andy a little bit behind him, so Keith Heathy will have a little bit of a gap this time. He won't, maybe if you can stay away from Andy, you won't have that rear pressure, and he might be able to just hang on to Mackenzie.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting though, isn't it? The top 4 is absolutely dominated by the Aston Martin.
Yeah.
Keith there doing a great job in the Audi. Andy Klimpson doing a fantastic job in that KTM, so we've said it quite a few times, but you know, it's a big old battle there. So qualifying has ended now, so if we can go back up to the sharp end of the grid there for me, Ben, if we can. I think a few of the cars are in the garage actually there, so you can kind of see them all lined up ready to go. They're just taking a really quick breath. So what we're going to do then, we're just going to head to a short advert, which we will run, and then we'll do a grid rundown when we get back in a couple of minutes' time. Perfect. Okay, and round 4 of our GT4 Championship, so InGear Motorsport GT4 Series, is ready to go. So a quick run through of the order. So we've got D. Stallman back in P1, followed by R. Stallman in P2. So that father-son duo is back how they normally are in P1 and P2 together. Mackenzie managed to get P3 just at the end of qualifying there, and M. Curran is in P4 just behind him. K. Heath, great qualifying from him in P5. Klimpson in P6, P7 is M. Jensen. D. Murray there doing a great job in the McLaren in P8. P9 is Stees, and then P10 is a non-regular, so a pubber there, as Neil would say. So D. by South, I think we're going to go there.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, I'm going to go with that. I'm owning it. Danny Price is in P11, so great to see him here for the second race of the evening. We've got P12. So we're going to head now. So the guys are just on their half a warm-up lap. So they're just monitoring, like we spoke about before. They're just monitoring where they are as they go around. And perfect timing that my string just froze, but I know that they're coming through Clark Curve at the moment onto Brabham Straight. So So they're starting to get themselves up, and we've got the Stallman, so that dominant duo out in front with Mackenzie in P3. And Mackenzie, so if you're in P3, so if you're on the right-hand side of the track, you've got the ultimate line there. So lights are going to be out.
Here we go.
And here we go. So we're racing for round 4 of the GT4 Championship. So going into Paddock Hill Bend there, you can see that D Stallman's out in the front, and Mackenzie has managed to just get in front of R Stallman there, heading up into Druids and round Druids. So going to be quite a defensive break in there for P2 there of Mackenzie. But D Stallman, is out in lead, and he's already got himself a nice little gap. A much cleaner start than the first race. I know Neil's looking at sort of the back end of the grid for me, and he's very quiet in my ear at the moment, which is always a good
I'm just
sign.
making sure. There we go.
Yeah.
And first few corners pretty cleanly.
Yeah, that's what we like to see, isn't it? Yeah, and it's very rare that we have any sort of dramas on the first couple of laps, but obviously it does happen. So going up onto that long back straight, so that 7% drop over Hawthorne Hill. And going into Hawthorne Bend, which is a very fast corner there. And we've got some nice gaps between everyone there. So Mackenzie managed to slot in very well in P2 there. We've got R Stallman in P3, and M Curran is all over the back of R Stallman there in P4. Kay Heath has dropped down a position, so he's actually gone from P5 to P6, and Clemson's had a fantastic start there in that KTM, which we know isn't the easiest car to navigate around the tight, twisty and the iconic Brands Hatch GP. So really good start there. Any dramas in the back end there, Neil? That
looks
you
like we
can see,
had one retirement. Looks like we had an Audi come off just now. It was I didn't catch the name, but somebody's come off and they decided to quit. So one car down in the first lap. Everybody's pretty tight in the mid grid. Yeah. It's really separating out now, though. Looks like a pretty clean first lap otherwise. That's
what we like to see. And sorry to butt in there, Neil, but I just wanted to jump on this. I can see that M Curran is all over the back of R Stallman, which is going to give R Stallman, so in car number 5, that black with the green wheels. He's going to have to start driving really defensively, which is perfect for Mackenzie, because it means Mackenzie can now push on and try and not let D Stallman get this normal gap that he gets, and he's already shaved off 1/10, so he was half a second off of D Stallman up there in P1. He's now 4/10 off, so this is what we want to see, isn't it, Neil? We want to get that gap closed and see someone actually pushing D Stallman a little bit and have some real sort of proper racing at the top end as well as the middle pack, which we know they race so well with.
Yep. Yeah, we just got to get some pressure on Stallman, see how he reacts to it. It might be a bit much pressure for Mackenzie to get in his own head and try and stick behind him. I know there's a lot riding on that. He'd be very happy with himself if he did manage to get the pass.
Yeah.
So see if he can stick with it. I'm just watching Curran on that screen now, and he's really putting pressure on our Stallman.
This is a really good camera angle, and you can see that Curran there is trying to really eat up our Stallman under the braking zone, but as a byproduct of that, he is losing a little bit of straight coming out the corner, and this is a bit of a balancing act around here. You can go really deep into these corners, but you're going to scrub off so much speed and stop yourself as you come out of the exit of the corner. So we're just following these guys along, grabbing straight and into that iconic Paddock Hill Bend, which is actually, believe it or not, one of the easiest corners to overtake around this circuit, and it was a circuit that I feared for a long time when I started my motorsport career and first got into car racing, but it very quickly become one of my favourite corners, and one that if you get it hooked up properly, it feels absolutely fantastic the way it sucks you in and pulls you round. So Mackenzie's kind of closed that gap, so he's now 3/10 off of D Stallman, so he's lighting it up a little bit there. He knows that his opportunity is in the first sort of 10 minutes, and we dragged him into the conversation in between race 1 and qualifying for this race, and he knows what he needs to do. He knows that he needs to get on the back of there and put Dom under a bit of pressure and get Dom to mess his tyres up a little bit. I think it sounds a bit nasty, doesn't it, Neil? But that's what we need to happen when you're in that situation.
We need some points off the board for D Stallman, so if we get him to come down a few grid order, that's fine with me.
Yeah, absolutely there. Nothing
like,
personal against Dom.
yeah, 1, 2, 3, and 4 look to be pretty close. There's a little bit of a gap forming between R. Stillman and Mackenzie, although saying that, looks like he just closed up a little bit. I
Yeah,
think we'll see that gap opening up as the race goes on. R. Stillman's been a little bit defensive on Curran, and Curran really knows how to put the pressure on. So we'll
yeah.
see. In fact, you can see it now. Yeah, he's just getting all up in Roland's mirrors.
Yeah, and I think that's a big thing as well. So a lot of these guys are using the VR setup. So what they are seeing is like a inside the car. So it's very distracting if you've got someone that's all up in your mirrors. And sometimes you can make a car that's not very wide look very, very wide on the circuit. So we just can keep an eye on that gap. And you can see Mackenzie just running a little bit wide there as he come out of Grand Hill Bend, running sort of not track limits yet, but you know, they're getting close. And we can see Curran just coming through Surtees there up onto the GP circuit. He's made the move and he's made it stick on Stallman. So this is going to be a really good battle between the two of them, I think, and a fantastic clean move there. And Surtees is a very, very hard part of the circuit to overtake on. Going into Hawthorne Bend as well. It's a very, very fast part of the circuit.
So what will be the interesting thing is can Curran catch up to Taylor now? And then we'll be putting the pressure on Taylor both ways, trying to catch up with D. Stillman, who looks like he's pulled a little bit of a gap. And it's Curran coming up fast behind them in the other Aston Martin. So, Benny, if we could check out what's going on in the rest of the pack, just have a look, check up on everybody. We go to 5th and 6th place, just down there. So that is Andy Klimpson in the Feller's Garage KTM, followed up by what looks to be Heathy Keithy in the Audi R8. They're getting pretty close. It should be an interesting battle between the two of them. If you remember back, they had a really good battle in the Laguna Seca charity race near the last 30 minutes. They were very close.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, hopefully Heath isn't going to make the same mistake as he did in race 1, where he tried to do the switchback going into Paddock Hill Bend, which is a great move, but it's a hard move to be able to actually make it stick. So he's all over the back there. He's going to be sitting and watching for the moment and just thinking, where is Klimpson a little bit weaker than what I am? Because, you know, everyone has their strengths. He's running a little bit wide there coming out of Grand Hill Bend, and these guys do get driving standards warnings, but what that's forced him to do is he goes very, very tight going into Surtees, which works for some, you know, doesn't work for others. And you can see there down the sort of the back straight that he's actually allowed Andy Klimpson, so in that KTM, so car number 20, to just get a little bit more of a gap there on the back straight and into Hawthorne Bend.
So what I would say with the R8, it looks like Heath's having a little bit of trouble with the weight transfer on the car. So he gets into the corner, he turns in tight, and then the weight shifts to the other side of the car as you come out of the corner, and he's just sliding a little bit wide. The tail end's coming out a little bit out, and then he's trying to overcorrect that with the next corner by turning in tight again, and it's just dropping a little bit of time back on Andy. If you could really smooth out his line, he will catch him.
Sorry, Neil, not laughing at you there. I'm just having a look on the social media feeds there. We've got Ian Wardy Ward back again. Come on, Liam, put your foot down. Can we have a little look to see where Liam is? Because we don't want to forget about Liam. We think he's doing an absolutely sterling job. And guys, don't forget, vote for your driver of the day. If no one votes for anyone, they don't get the point. So it's really important that you need to say driver of the day.
So it looks like Liam's in a fight with the Camaro GT4. He's keeping with him. He's sticking with him.
Yeah.
What we could do is try and flip to inside view and just see what sort of lines he's taking.
Yeah, absolutely there. So it's always good to have a inside view of the drivers, and I think it's worth pointing out, it might be obvious to some but maybe not others, but it's actually a left hooker of a car, and that does really change the way that it feels. We're used to sitting in the right hand side of the car for us guys that or guys and girls that are here in the UK, but don't forget we have got European drivers from all over the world, so you can argue that that's a little bit of an advantage in terms of positioning.
On that point, I would actually disagree with you in the fact that when I'm racing, I'm much more used to being in a left-handed car. If I get in the Ginetta or the if you get in the Ginetta or the Bentley, it's very confusing to be on the right side of the car.
Yeah. I guess maybe does that fall down to that you've done more time on a track, and it's funny, isn't it? Whereas I get on a track in a left-handed car, and I like I have to think about it, if you know what I mean. It's something that was always I had to really work on. A lot of the time it's because I'm 5'2". So vision out of these cars are, in the real world are very, very difficult anyway, because you're sat very, very low down, very far back in the car. But yeah, it's something that absolutely has to be taken into consideration. And I could be throwing this out there, Neil, and I could be completely wrong, but you don't know whether it's an edge that maybe, because we know that the Stallmans, they're from Germany. Maybe that is, everything counts to make.
They're very good and get a lot of practice in. Ben, if we could flip back to the 5th and 6th position fight, looks like Heath Keithy's back up on the KTM again.
Lovely. And can we get an outside? Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah, there we go.
Well done. Benny's on fire this evening.
Heath went off on the grass.
That was a big tank up there.
I am so sorry.
Absolute mare. We are fully throwing you onto the bus for that one.
Yeah.
That was commentator's curse at its finest. Let's fingers crossed, like you say, these cars do replicate damage, so fingers crossed that he can get back out. We have got 19 minutes left of the race this evening, so fingers crossed for him.
That has, however, put David Murray in a very good position, 6th place. Now, he just started racing with us, and he was brand new to sim just under 2 months ago. So it's good to see going from basically the same positions as Liam was in. He was struggling to get around the track. We were lapping him, but he stuck with it, and now he's in 6th place in what was a almost 20-car grid. Yeah,
it just shows, though, doesn't it? Time, you've got to put the time in to make it stick. That makes sense. I do just want to check in and see how Danny Price is doing. So your other Sheba garage driver there. We can be a little bit biased here, seeing as you're sat in the commentary or virtual commentary box, and see how he's doing. So P10 for him. Really, really good job. These guys, what we need to remember is they've all had a 15 minutes qualifying, 30-minute race, however many hours beforehand free practice this evening, depending on when people finish work, etc. So he's doing a really, really good job there to get back out and make it in, and obviously he's fighting for the championship as well.
Yep. So I know Danny, myself, didn't get much chance to practice this track this week. I luckily was in the commentator seat, so I was like, well, that's fine, I don't have to. But I know for a fact that Danny hasn't had much practice. Obviously, he's doing the second race, like you said. The other guys have had an hour and a half almost of getting around this track, and then they're back into another race. Whereas Danny's coming into it a bit fresh. He's hold 10th. That's points if he can hold off Keithy Heathy. If he has damage,
he will be thinking with that mentality, won't he? He'll be thinking, I need to finish in the top 10. I need to get some points on the table. So just to talk about that then, and the way the point systems work. So P1 to 10, you get points available. The top 3, you get a significant boost in points. So you get 15 points, 15 points downwards. And we know that Dom Stallman at the moment has got maximum points because he's won every round so far. But we are doing drop rounds, so the same as we would do in any championship in the real world. Maybe I should stop calling it the real world, but that's what I'm going to refer to it as. There is going to be a round where you can drop from the same event, i.e. it would be 2 races. So I'm going to assume that Danny Price, if he can make every single race or over the next 2 weeks, that this will be his drop round. Neil, this is your drop round, isn't it? Because you've kindly agreed to. I
do well in the next 3 races.
Yeah, we're just not going to talk about you too much over the next couple of years. If I give you the curse, so don't think it's because we're not. We don't want to curse you. But on that note, have you enjoyed actually maybe having a week off, if that makes sense, so that you can kind of not have to sit there and put so many hours in, and obviously you're doing this tonight, and there's work.
Well, it's nice to be take the pressure off. It's a busy work week last week. Didn't get any practice in, so it's nice to know that you got a drop round. You've got a little bit of a safety net. Oh, looks like a little bit of contact between Danny and Steez there. Danny coming up on the rear end of KTM and giving him a little tap, just reminding him he's there. Now, this is
the love tap.
This is how Feller's Garage and Sheba Garage go ahead, and they're always up on each other's bumpers. Now, it looks like Niall gave him the place back there. I'm not sure why. Might be worth asking him later on, but maybe stick with these cars for a minute.
Sorry, who gave the price back?
So it looked like Steez, Niall Steez gave Danny the place. I don't know if there was something weird going on there, but it looks like also Keithy Heathy's getting involved, and this is going to be a heated battle for the 9th, 10th, and 11th.
This will be good for Heath because we know that Heath is actually faster than where he is at the moment in terms of grid position. So if he can put enough pressure on Steez, so Steez is going to have to hopefully try to defend lead straight
Niall
away.
And Danny off on the first corner. That's giving Heath a chance.
Curse.
There you go. There's Heath. There's Keithy Heathy.
Yeah, I mean, he's had an absolute shocker in race 1 and race 2 so far. So maybe it's a little bit of good luck coming on his side there. Not so good for the other 2 guys, but yeah, it's good to kind of see Heath. Like we say, he gets his head down and he cracks straight back on with it, which is all good. So he's running in P9. Danny there, he's still hanging on to P10 with Steez hot on the heels of him at the back. Can we take a little look at what's going on at the front ends of the grid there for us, Ben?
So I've been keeping up with Stillman and Curran, and they have been getting into scrap. It's been going switching back and forth
for a little while. Then
they have been really going at it. It looks like a couple of corners, Curran just really late breaking in and really trying to throw Stillman off. And you can see they're bumper to bumper coming around the last corner.
Now I think we're going to stick with this one just for a little bit. I think, Neil, if you agree with me, this is getting a little bit close. And so at the moment we can see that it's actually Stillman who's got the racing line because he's just a little bit ahead, but Curran is all tight and he's going to be lining him up to try and make this move into Druids. Stillman's gone very, very defensive into Druids. Now what he should be doing is getting Curran to stop on that apex and then quickly squirt the power on so that he can get away. And it's a little bit of a karting tactic that we use, a bit of a cheeky one, but it's a very, very good racing tactic. So going into Surtees then, these 2 actually have quite different lines, and my stream has just paused again, so perfect timing there. Got it back up. So Stillman going through there into Surtees, back onto the Hawthorne straight, so that big drop down, so about 70% down and then back up, and it's almost a blind summit when you go over it, if that makes sense, and under the bridge. So he's made that through that bend, and he's actually got a little bit of, when I say breathing space, it's it's not much at all, is it? It's tiny.
It's enough just to give you that little edge. You can make a tiny mistake now, at least.
Take a quick breath for a minute. So really fast part of the section going into Dingle Bell and Sheens. They're fast part of the circuit, which then heads back down into Clearways. So I want to stay with this one because I do think this was getting a little bit like good racing, strong racing. I think they both respect each other, but Curran does like to stick his nose in, doesn't he, there, and give a little bit of a gentle...
He's reminding him he's there. Yeah, it's just I'm here. You're not going fast enough.
I mean, he's
back on him again. Yeah. Oof, it's tight.
This is a very, very good race between them. And Stillman running a little bit wide there, giving Curran. But again, Stillman's got the line. He's just that bit ahead, and he's just chopped him off as he's gone into there.
He's slowed himself down come the exit. Can he hold it? This is dramatic, this.
Do you know what? I've got to give my hats off to Stillman there because he is driving very, very well. He's making sure that his nose is just that, that half a metre ahead of Curran, which does give him the racing line, but it's gone way too wide into
we've had the talk, and Curran's gone off. Curran is off track.
We was waiting for that to happen.
Yep.
Unfortunately.
I think that was just a shame. Sadly, with the physics of this game, what should just be a quick crunch of bumpers causes a bit of a bounce, so the car can end up being thrown off the track. It almost looks like.
Absolutely, Neil. And I think it's one thing that I spoke about at the start of this, but you guys are talking constantly. So we know that Stillman actually isn't in the Discord chat that you guys are all in terms of not on the mic to one another. But if that was me and you, for example, having the battle together, we would be saying, run a bit wide there or something like that, because you need to communicate because of these sort of the technicalities of the game as you sort of explain.
Yeah. So, like with the Discord, we've got a lot of communication going on with the drivers. Obviously, you're still wanting to win, but we're putting it up to it's fun at the end of the day. So, diving up on someone and wiping them off the track's not exactly ideal. We saw the fight with Curran and Stillman there. Curran obviously a little bit faster than Stillman in most of the corners, but couldn't quite hold the pass. And then coming up the hill there, it was just a little bit of contact in the wrong place, and that was it.
Yeah, Absolutely. Let's check in with Mackenzie, and then we'll check in with D Storman, because they're both having a little bit of a lonely race.
Yep, it looks like D Stillman's got his gap back, and he is 5.655 seconds away from
Something he
Mackenzie.
does so well. Now, what's interesting with Dom, over the last couple of weeks, we say he's faultless, but he's not. He does make some mistakes, and it usually happens in the second race. Not to kind of put commentator clips on. I know you've watched the feeds back, and it's not a big mistake, but it's enough that it can close that gap.
Yeah.
Not to say he's going to do it now, but it is something that we've seen him do. So it's not to say that it's all over at all. I think Suzuka, he did it as well. My brain's absolutely fried where it was so hot, but I think there was something like that happened in Suzuka, and it happened at Bathurst as well when you guys were racing there.
Yeah, so Bathurst is a very difficult track. If you have a mistake on the top of the hill, you can almost end your race with the speed you're doing, and the walls just bounce you around. I know for a fact that it was actually at the bottom of the hill that he had his incidents, but just trying to brake on the grass, it doesn't really work. Allowed us to get the pass, but I know that Bathurst is a weak track for those two. They said that afterwards, so they'll got the practice in. The next time we go there, I'm sure
they'll be all over it again. And I think it's you mentioned grass there, and I think it's something that we should speak about. Not many of the foreign tracks have grass, which sounds like a bit of a stupid thing, but obviously there's loads and loads of grass around here at Brands Hatch and all over the back of the GP circuit. So when they're running off, it can kind of sometimes go in your behaviour, because you're not just straight away dipping a wheel into gravel. Of course, there are gravel on some of the corners as well, but it's dry conditions in this race, so you're not going to come off as badly as if it was absolutely soaking wet. I mean, I've done a 6-hour race round Brands Hatch Indy. Obviously, endurance race, there was 2 drivers of us. In November, as you can imagine, Neil, kind of Scottish weather in terms of your Scottish summer. It was absolutely freezing. But, that just shows how important the weather conditions as well. The track temperature is really good in this race. So if they are going on the grass or running a little bit wide, they're seeming most of the time to get away from it. The only place that we're seeing these gravel tracks is through the really, really fast section there. And we can see, I was going to say...
pass there. That was a close one. It looked like David maybe braked a little bit too early, and Kern wasn't expecting it, and he managed to throw the car around the track just to get past him.
Yeah.
Very close to an accident.
Yeah.
In the 77 Shiba car in 5th. Can he hold off the Porsche? It looks like he's been holding that gap with Jensen so far. And then Kern is making his way back up the pack. He's going to be looking to get past Andy before the end of the race and see if he can even catch up back to R. Stillman.
Yeah, must say the Shiba Garage livery looks absolutely fantastic on those McLarens, the same way it did the Aston Martins as well. And we can see a back marker there. I think that's a Porsche. It's tricky to see from my camera angle. So we're going to see these blue flags starting to come out, and they probably have been already, but it's only that we're just starting to see that. And you'll see that up on your screen. So in the top left-hand corner, you'll start to see sometimes a grid position, depending on what camera angle on, can get a little bit skew-iff, if that makes sense. But it's just where we've got these back markers with some of them coming through. And again, I think the back markers have all done a really, really good job in this race and the last one. I kind of just get out of the way, let the guys carry on. Clemson's bumper there, I don't know if you just caught that a couple of angles ago, Neil. Looks very stuffed.
Well, let's have a look at
Clemson. Sorry, not Clemson. Curran. Sorry.
Curran had the accident where he hit the wall, so it looks like he's got a little bit of air damage. It looks like he's pretty steady. It doesn't look like he's slowing down terribly much. He's going really fast. He is really wanting to catch up on Andy, really trying to get back into that top 3 if he can do it. Oh no, he's had a bit of a slip. I really need to stop talking about people.
Oh my God.
A bit of a sketchy rejoin, but given that, it's allowed them to get back through. That Porsche is actually fighting for contention. That's D.
Yeah, no, he is. Yeah.
Looks like he's been struggling to get past David. He can't quite catch him. Now we'll see. Kern is running faster than David, but he can't keep it on the track. He can't have the position. So let's see if he can, probably get the pass on David. But let's see if it'll be clean.
Yeah.
It looks like he's just going to let him through there.
I have to be honest with you. I think some of his moves would be, if you really wanted to go there, could be, up for protest if R. Stallman hadn't have done such a good job of kind of avoiding some of that. Running really wide, all of them coming out of Graham Hill Bend there, 4 wheels over onto the AstroTurf there. But yeah, he's absolutely rapid, isn't he? Curran is in that Aston Martin. He's I don't know what he's had for dinner, but he's done something, hasn't he? Maybe he's down a few cans of Monster there, like you guys are currently sinking with that. But yeah, no, great drive from him in terms of pace. But I think, just needs to be a little bit careful in terms of where he's putting in that positioning of the car. Because like you say, Neil, they've got to be communicating to avoid things that's happened, because we don't want anything. We don't want any of the regulars certainly to be taken out there. So Phil Lima here, Heath is like all over this. He's put come on Kirky and Liam. So these guys are doing really well bringing the guys in. And Ian has put, I think Heath needs to concentrate on his work more than his driving luck. Okay, I'm going to throw Heath under the bus for that and see what Ian...
Well, given his caution, mate, he needs to concentrate on his driving. You'll be getting a chat about this after this race, mate.
Or Heath. So don't forget, guys, make sure you vote for a driver of the day or driver of the evening. You need to put it in the chat. It will give one of them an extra championship point. So I don't know where he's P8 at the moment, so he's going to get points if he finishes. And we've got 4 minutes left there on the board. Let's just see where Danny Price is, if that's all right, Ben. I just want to keep an eye on them. I think it's good to touch base with all the regulars, and then we'll have a little look to see how Liam's getting on. So Danny's just out of the points there, so he's in P12. Is it bad for me to say that we love new people coming in, but the pubbers, but if the 2 Porsches there had a little moment, that wouldn't be too bad for Danny.
It wouldn't be too bad, would it?
Just throwing it out there.
You could get a bit too confident if a little bit too tight in the final corners here.
Absolutely. How many people, Neil, I know you can see the screen a bit better than me. So for you guys that are watching, I can see what you can see. So that's why I'm getting Neil to have a look on the back end. How many people have we got in the race left? Is it 15?
15 people in the race. And it looks like Liam's not in last place. Liam is actually in 14th. He's managed to pass that Chevrolet and keep it.
And I think it's worth mentioning on that, though. There are people that just drop out. If it's not going their way, they just drop out. So Liam being in 14th, he's not last, if that makes sense, because the other people that dropped out, it's past the watershed. They're just, get on with it. You're in a race. Stick to it until the end. Be competitive. This is what it's all about. So the last 3 minutes there.
DNF. So if they could add, instead of the person when they drop out drops off the server, if they could add DNF, it would instill a lot of confidence in people, especially when you get, say, like a 24-car grid and then people drop out. And if it's raining, you'll quite frequently see 12 cars drop out. And then you're like, oh, well, I finished 10th. But you didn't. You didn't finish last. You finished 10th. You finished halfway up the pack.
Yeah, that's such a valid point. So I think this game has done so well at doing a lot well, if that makes sense. It's absolutely bang on. There's very, very little that you can thought about this game. But I think you're right. If you want to give people that boost and that bit of confidence, then put a DNF in there. Treat it how you would, how a race results sheet would be when it was pinned up on the board outside the clerk of the course offices, where we'd all be scrounging for our pieces of paper, to put in our folders for our data and stuff like that. It used to be a bit of a bundle, but we used to get there. So let's take a look then at the top end of the grid. Liam, so Phil has put Liam would be in P1 if he was in a transit. Trust me, absolutely love that. I mean, maybe we need to say that to the game as well. Let's get transit racing going. I'm sure there'd be some good conversations around that.
We'll set that up and see how it goes.
Yeah, let's see how that goes. I mean, not too confident on that one, but let's give it a go.
The Stillmans would still get the Motec out.
Well, do you know who would be
looks like D. Stillman has got a good, comfortable lead there. He's put some real time on Mackenzie.
Yeah, I mean, Father Burridge in a transit would be all right at this race. I think Neil. I think he would absolutely love that.
Papa B for a win.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think I would as well. So let's just do a quick run through then. So we've got D. Stallman there. Absolutely dominant. 18 laps in. We've probably got maybe one, maybe two. I think it's going to be two, isn't it? Where the way the timing clock is. 2 laps left. Mackenzie in P2, so 10-second gap between him and Stallman, a nice 5-second gap between, nearly 7-second gap between Mackenzie and R. Stallman though. So that kind of gives Mackenzie a little bit of breathing space, just bring it home. Andy, they're doing a really, really good job in that KTM, bringing that up to P3. A 10-second gap though between him and R. Stallman. So you can see that top 4 is actually really, it's spread out, isn't it? Let's be honest. And you can see Stallman and Mackenzie have just gone through. We've got 22 seconds left on the clock. So I think this is definitely going to be their last lap. And we can see that Mackenzie's just approaching a back marker there. So a Audi. Not too sure who that is, but fingers crossed that Audi isn't going to cause him too much hassle.
Liam.
Liam, bless. Liam needs to be a bit tough. I think I'm going to have a chat with Liam because he doesn't need to go on the grass. He's just been, he's being nice.
So
he's
Benny,
being
if you
a
want
bit
to
too nice.
to,
We need to rough him up a bit.
Position 6th, we've got a real fight going on with David and the Porsche. They've swapped positions a couple of times now, and it looks like this is the final laps. Can David get it back into 6th place here? He's just had to drop off after going wide in the first corner.
Yeah, so we've got a little message there, really quick from Ian. Can I vote for Liam now? I want to go off and play some games. I mean, Ian, come on, commit to it, mate.
1 minute left, mate.
If anyone else throws in any other votes for driver of the evening, then he could overtake Liam. We've got Phil saying Flymo, yeah, so we could do a bit of racing with that. So guys have crossed the line. Can we just go up to P1 and 2 really quick? I think they've gone across the line. Or Neil, can you feed that into my ear?
Yeah, so D. Stillman's just about to cross the line now. That's
it.
Victory
I think we should give him it. So an absolutely mega job there done by D. Stallman. So again, round 4 of this championship, won by D. Stallman. Mackenzie Taylor taking the flag in 2nd position. I think he'll be happy with that. He split the Stallmans up. P3, if we can go through there, will be R. Stallman, Clinton in P4. M. Curran made it back up to P5. He's had a few funky moments in this
really
race,
put the
hasn't
time in. I would give him that.
Fair play to him. He's managed to get that back, so he's in the points. D. South in the Porsche in P6. Dean Murray there in P7. So Sheba Motorsport, they're taking it in P7, so getting points on the table there for the team championship. Heath in P8, so well done there, Heath. P9 Steves, P10 Emma O'Brien, P11 Rodriguez, I think I'm going with that. P12 Danny Price, so really good effort there by Danny, and not even going to attempt P13, but Carl 719, and P14 there El Sharman. Well done, Liam, fantastic effort there. I think he's made some leaps and bounds over the last week. And we've got P15 Jay Cheney, I think that is Cheney. We'll again, I'm just going to go with it now. I've learnt to just own it because I can't pronounce half the names there. So it's looking like the flag has dropped. So Liam does get driver of the day. So I'm really pleased for Liam there because it means he's got points on the board there. And, this is about you guys there that are watching back at home or back wherever you are with that. So what did you think of that race, Neil?
That was a good race. It was a lot more spaced out, a lot less action than race 1. We saw a couple of swaps back and forth, a lot going on with Curran. It was a very, very good job coming in. He managed to get back up within 4 seconds of Andy after a couple of spins and a lot of accidents, say, with other drivers. But a strong racer, maybe just needs to work on his racecraft a little bit with other drivers.
Yeah. And I think Liam just needs to toughen up a little bit there. I think he's a bit too nice letting people through a little bit too easily. But it's a balancing act. And that will come with experience, won't it? So I'm just going to drag Mackenzie up into our
Oh, we're going to get Keithy Heathy.
Yeah, I'm going to get both of them. He's Jeff Badgers, isn't he?
Jeff Badgers, yeah, he's got a million.
So on our Discord, and I just want to throw this in there, on our Discord, it's free for you guys to join. InGear Motorsport, come in, the guys are really welcoming, and get involved with it. So Paulina's just put, hello. Sorry, 2 seconds. So we've got Paulina voted for Danny P, of course. Great effort for him, considering he had no time. Paulina is a very good girlfriend, consistently. So we've got a tie between Liam and Danny in votes, but Liam did get it as just before the flag drop. So we're going to give driver of the day to Liam. So yeah, I'm really pleased for that for him. How's it for you guys? First, if we go to Keith, Jeff Badgers,
The man of many
whatever.
names.
Literally, like you've had a hard evening.
Yeah, both races. It's been because of Surtees. I just I don't know. I think I just got on the power a bit too early, and the car just literally drifted a bit too wide.
It's
You
100%
know,
the hardest
curve,
corner.
rest is history. Yeah.
I was saying that it looked like the weight transfer was getting you a little bit on the like exit of the corner. You get the power on it, would just lean over that little bit, the tail would just be away.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I was right on Andy as well, so it was great. But yeah, the first race as well, like tires, they were just like, my setup was totally way off.
You had a bit of damage there as well by the midpoint of the race, so you were fighting that. It's a good effort though. We were watching you.
Yeah, I think the battle we were saying between sort of like from 4th down to kind of 7th and 8th, it was quite full on. There was always a lot happening each time. So I think you guys did a mega job with that. Did you enjoy it? Even though you had some dramas?
Frustrating, but still very enjoying. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I definitely could have had 2 4th places there easily, I think.
Yeah, 100%. Curran was very quick.
Yes, his spin off and then come back driving the first race was brilliant. He was like road runner.
Yeah, he did the same in the second as well. Launched it into the wall. Funny enough, everyone that was having a moment was pretty much coming out of Surtees up into sort of the Hawthorne straight, sort of that back section going onto the GP circuit. Mackenzie, well done, P2 again. Wasn't a waste of time for Neil to come in the commentary box. Are you happy?
Yeah, happy, but also I just wish I could get that little bit extra pace, like middle of the race onwards. It's like he finds another gear and just checks out. I could live with him for the first 4 laps. I thought I might even be able to put a move in on lap 5. But yeah, he just then disappears. I just had no answer to it.
Perhaps you just have to try the AMG next time.
Yeah, I mean, we was I'm going. Yeah, we was watching you when you sort of got back on the back of him. You was half second off, and then you got it down to 3/10, so you could see that you was looking to see where it is, and then it like you say, it kind of gets halfway through, and it's like all of a sudden he just starts banging in these laps, and it's like, where are they coming from? And he ended up with like a 10-second lead, 12-second lead by the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? I mean, I wondered whether him and Roland did. Neil doesn't think so. So we're kind of like, on 2 sides of the fence. Did they do something to their tyre pressures in quali as well? Because he did a 1:31.9, and Stallman sort of pulled it out the bag and found a chunk of pace again. So I don't know maybe whether they've,
I think they're just strong drivers and they put the time in.
Yeah.
And it just shows.
I think that's it, yeah.
Just very consistent. They put a lot of time into practice. They're on pretty much every night getting the practice in. They've got these setups dialed in. They're doing lap after lap after lap. There's just can't compete with that.
I think that's one thing I found in the first race, particularly I noticed it more. I could do a quali lap and push the thing on the limit because I knew if I stuffed it into the wall, it's luckily in sim racing I can reset. But in the race, I just felt like I had to knock it back a few pegs because I wasn't confident to sort of do the consistent fast times.
Can I just ask a question? Does Liam does he chat in your chat? Because I don't think he knows that he's driver of the day yet, and he's just put Taylor's my fave in Facebook, and I want to tell him that he's got driver of the day.
I think he's Dave the Bastard, right?
Oh yeah, he is.
We can swear now because it's 9:30. Cool. What I'm going to do there, guys, we'll tell him after. I'm just going to drop you back out again, but mega job by both of you. Not an easy circuit, not easy conditions, considering it's like we're in a desert at the moment because it's so hot. So great effort there. Mackenzie, I'll see you in a minute because we live together. Well done. Heath, though, mega job by you. So I'm just going to drop you back down, and me and Neil.
Thank you both for you guys. See you in a bit.
Yeah, thanks for all your time again, guys.
That's all right. I'll put my shopping order into Mackenzie.
See you later. Bye.
Bye.
Cool. Perfect. So Wicked. Thanks so much, Neil, for joining us this week. We're going to be seeing you back out on track. I think is it Monza or Silverstone next week? My brain's absolutely
I can't remember. I'll need to check.
It's Monza. It's Monza. It's your favourite track, Neil. So get on there and get some laps in. Big pressure for you there. How did you find your first time commentating, though?
Well, remember, I did some commentating before. I dropped out the Kyalami race, but it was good. It's different to see it from above, basically. It's nice to see the guys getting on. Good race, but looks like lot of changing positions in that one. A lot of comebacks.
Busy race. Busy race. Perfect there. So there we have it. Don Stallman absolutely dominant. So won both rounds. Mackenzie finishing second in both rounds there, and R. Stallman finishing third. So great effort. We're going to update the driver league board and the team championship board, and we'll post that on all our socials. So don't forget, we're across YouTube, InGear Motorsport. We're on Twitch, InGear Motorsport. We're on Discord. The more guys we can get into this, and the more sort of fan base that you can bring along, we really appreciate all the support of it. Thanks for you guys that have commented it in our chat box. We're going to be here at the same time next Tuesday, hopefully not quite as hot and not having to run a crazy fan setup because it is so boiling, and we're going to be at Monza. So thanks so much for listening. Like I say, we're going to be here next Tuesday at 7:30 again, and we'll see you soon. And Neil, thanks so much. Have you got any last words of wisdom before we disappear?
BOP the Aston.
Well, okay, we're going to have to do a vote on that one and see what we think in the middle of a championship. To be continued, people, to be continued. Perfect, cool. Thanks so much, guys, and we'll see you next week. And thanks again, Neil, and thanks, Ben, for all your hard work in the back end side of things, flicking around on all the cameras and not swearing too much in my ear. So don't forget, like and subscribe for us as well. Drop us any feedback, any messages, anything like that that you want to see more of. We welcome it, absolutely. So see you guys soon. Ain't shady, baby, I'm hot, like the prodigal son. There we go, green lights, and we're off once again. Big up at the leany, meeny, miny, mo, and flower. You're the chosen one.